Happy Saturday night. We are live from Las Vegas, the Sci-Fi Center, and this is the Poindexter Lounge, Sci-Fi Center Live, the overnight edition. And today is September 17th, and I am here to shepherd you from September 17th into September 18th, which is Sunday, week 2 of NFL. And I think we are 103 days away from Christmas. Triple digit days are over. Daylight savings is coming up. Halloween is coming up. One after another, the holidays are coming up. This is my favorite time of the year. Hockey season is going to start here in about a little bit over a month. And NBA starts. Just like I said, I have survived the summer, and I hope everybody across the nation is getting into the fall season. We got a couple topics we're going to talk about, but for the majority of it is going to be up to you guys. I have some things I'll lay out to get us going. But like I said, I want to hear from the chat. I want to hear from people who are chiming in and our guests coming in. We'll talk about the new Constantine movie that was announced, why I think that's a great business decision. We're going to, now that Brian has finally dragged himself across the finish line, we are going to talk Game of Thrones, full spoilers. So if you have not watched House of the Dragon up to this point, and if you have not watched Game of Thrones in general, the complete seasons, and you don't want to have it spoiled, just go ahead and this might be the time. I'll give you guys a warning before we and I'll put the spoiler banner at the bottom before we start ruining your lives and ruining your childhoods, even though if you're a child and you're watching Game of Thrones, something's up. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in who is usually my Star Trek wingman, and I'm glad he's able to make it tonight. And it's Brian, Master of None. How you doing, Brian?
Fantastic buffering. How's it going, man? Okay.
I'm doing all right. And I guess since he showed up, I'm going to go ahead and let him in, and that's Stade. What's going on, dude? What is that screen? Oh, that's the from the Dark Tower. Okay, I had to look at that again.
Yep.
That awful 7th book. All right, guys, let's go into the chat and see who has decided to sacrifice their Saturday night with us. I know Vince was in there. Hey, Vince, what's going on? Hello, TWMK.
Yo.
Go Leafs, go. Ooh,
What's up, Brian?
It's more like go Kings, go. But
if my freaking my screen was working, I'd be doing the shark chompers, bro. Yeah, go Sharks.
Yeah. Okay, we can. Well, since your giant season has been devoured like shark bait this season, I guess we can. How you doing, Stella? Wow. It's been a long week, but it's a busy week. We're doing this show from the center this week as a second week in a row, as opposed to my house where I was much more comfortable, but I like the lighting here. It's better here. Plus, we have the Las Vegas Amazing Comic-Con that's happening right now over the weekend. And we also have Life is Beautiful happening. We also have a Canelo Alvarez Triple G fight. We have a lot of things going on, and there's a couple more conventions in town. And whenever we have those conventions, they usually let out 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and we usually get some overflow of traffic from those. So I decided.
What is Life is Beautiful?
Life is Beautiful. It's a concert that's held downtown Las Vegas. It's got several different bands over a 3-day period. I forgot what the lineup was this year, but they had some pretty big names. But they pack downtown. Traffic gets really, really tough around Las Vegas and Sahara Boulevard because there's only a few outlets into North Las Vegas Boulevard. So we got that going on. But like I said, a lot of people come into town for that, and they come into town for the convention. So our demographic right now is out there in town, and I'm one of the fewer stores that are open later in the evening. So we get a lot of those guys coming in throughout the evening. So I mean, the couple of years ago, this has been the first Las Vegas Amazing Comic-Cons since the COVID era. So it's been 2 years. They usually host it in the end of June, but it took them a lot longer to get it set up this year, simply because this was their first one out of COVID. They had a pretty good lineup this year too. I wish I could have gone, but I just had too much stuff to do here. So like I said, I know the fight is happening right now, and as a matter of fact, that fight's probably happening right now. And Life is Beautiful. We had an oddities convention downtown. We just had a lot of stuff going on downtown, and I think a lot of people just wanted to be out and about because it's no longer broiling. You don't have to feel your eyeballs boiling in their sockets. So let's see, the Bears. Oh, wow. You know what? The Bears won a game that they had no business winning last week. So you know what?
What's up, Bears?
We're not going to talk about that game.
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, your jackass quarterback only got me 9 points, man. Almost cost me my league game. He's got to do better.
Yeah.
Trey Lance has got to do better this year.
Yeah,
He's projected for 18 points. I'm like, where do they see 18 points out of this guy?
I don't know. All I say is Herbert was good until he got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
But I got Derek Carr in the background. No, legit. Okay, so the first 2 professional sporting events I ever saw were San Jose Sharks games. Okay, that's why I'm a San Jose Sharks fan. The second game I saw was against the LA Kings, and it was at Arco Arena in Sacramento. So it was 1992. It was before they built the arena down in. So I am an OG Sharks fan. Okay,
I can't say I'm an OG Kings fan because they were founded in 1967, but I have been a fan since 1983 when they originally wore the purple and gold uniforms. So I'm pre-Gretzky. I'm Luke Robitaille. I watched Luke Robitaille get drafted and Marcel Dion retire, all those guys, and then when they made the trade and basically robbed Edmonton because that owner didn't want to pay Wayne Gretzky full market value. And
Poklovich.
If it's not for
or Pocklington,
Pocklington, it's Pocklington, He tried to put his son's name on the Stanley Cup and they took it off. If it's Wayne Gretzky only won 4 Stanley Cups, but for what he did as far as hockey this far west, it is the equivalent of 2 more Stanley Cups. You don't have San Jose, Anaheim, any of these teams that are west of St. Louis. You don't have them unless people see that there was a viable market out here. Because remember, it was a big risk. I remember when that trade went down, it was a huge risk, because he wasn't considered a hockey market. He gets here in very after a year, the year he wins his 4th Stanley Cup, one of his best years he's ever had, goes on and the very next year eliminates Edmonton. 4 years later, they take us to the Stanley Cup Finals and we get completely robbed by Montreal Canadiens. And it's because of that I put a curse on the country of Canada. Since then, 1993, there's been no Canadian hockey team to win a Stanley Cup. I thought about lifting the curse, even though my Kings won 2 Stanley Cups. I thought about it, but then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I want a 3rd and 4th. So sorry, Canadians in there, watching around. I'm not taking the whammy off of your country until I have a couple more patches on my jersey.
Oh, get out of here! At least your team's won one. We choked against the goddamn Penguins, dude.
No, you choked against the Kings. It was 3-0, baby. Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
When I'm feeling down and I'm just not feeling good physically or mentally, I pop in the highlight reel of that, and it just makes my eyes water. It's one of the very few things that actually makes me tear up and cry. ET's the other one.
I've been a Sharks fan longer than I've been a Giants fan, dude.
Well, at least you have some success with the Giants. I mean, you're never going to have a game, but you had
3 and 5 was something to hang a hat on.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
some of the worst.
Some would call that
a
dynasty. Some would call that a dynasty.
Facing some of the worst teams of American League.
Kind of like the San Francisco 49ers of yesteryear.
Yeah, that's before you were born.
Not the Niners.
Shut up. Hold on. Actually, no, I was alive for 4 out of the 5 Super Bowls. So thank you very much.
Oh,
I just remember one of them.
Cancel William. Hey, you know what? I take that with a badge of pride because, like I said, I went downtown San Bernardino. Shit you not. Bought some reversible candles and all kinds of stuff. Voodoo doll with a maple leaf on it. I was so pissed. That was the very first time I had never been so angry as a sports fan when that curved stick penalty, and I'll never forget it. It's been 29 years. We're going on. Wow. This will be the 30th anniversary of the Kings making the Stanley Cup Finals. Okay, I will never ever forget Game 2 and that fucking idiot ref that called Andy Von Hellerman. I wanted to kill that guy. I've seen thousands of hockey games. I've seen thousands of sports games, and since 1993, I will never. That man's name is etched into my skull. The Kings are up 1-0. If in Montreal they win that game, they're probably going to sweep Montreal, and they win the Stanley Cup there because they're going to go back to LA for the next 2 games. And usually in that era, when you lost the first 2 games at home, you're getting swept. You're not getting any games, and that's what was happening back then. Jacques Lamour, piece of shit. I think he may not even be alive. If he's not alive, fuck him, But he's desperate. He calls the ref over, and he calls over Marty McSorley, and they bring out this measuring stick and this thing to measure the curvature in Marty McSorley's stick. Takes these guys what seems like 1,000,000 years to determine that his stick was too curved, and all those guys out there had sticks that way. Nobody called that. They've been playing that way. Every defenseman in the world had a curved stick like that. Nobody called shit, but they were losing. They were desperate, so they call him over and they make that decision. They call a power play, and I shit you not, those pieces of crap scored 1 goal to tie it, and then another goal in overtime, and then they went on to win 2 more games in overtime. Kings didn't win another game in the series after winning the first game. The very next day, that was a Monday. I will never forget that. I went downtown San Bernardino. There was a place that was like a psychic eye type of place. I went down there and said, and I had the newspaper clipping in there with them all posing with the cup. I'm like, do something. I don't want anybody to die. Don't want anybody to get hurt. I want misery stricken on this team. And guess what? It's been 29 years. Suffering. The Canadian sport, I know it's croquet or something, or cricket is there now, but the real Canadian sport, you guys haven't won a Stanley Cup since the Clinton administration. All right? There have been 3 presidents that have served 2 terms since Canada
shouldn't have traded away Patrick Roy.
Hoisted Lord Stanley Cup. Well, that team, I mean, if you count the Quebec Nordiques, hey, that's the closest you come.
Pretty much.
Right? And
Colorado Avalanche. Oh,
yeah. You know what? And there's been plenty of teams that have made it. Vancouver's gone there. Toronto will never make there. Sorry, TW.
Oh no.
Vancouver's made it. Calgary's made it.
At least you can agree on mutual hatred of the
and you know what? I'm sorry,
Canadians.
TW. I didn't mean for my curse to extend to the whole. I don't think the witch doctor knew what she was doing. She looked at the globe, the map, and she just pointed at it and it's like, you know what? I can't pinpoint my curse. I'm just gonna take. I mean, we couldn't find, she couldn't find Montreal in the thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so no. 49ers, Giants, Athletics, Sharks, Warriors, Sacramento Kings. Okay. Yeah, I'm still salty over the 2002 freaking who was that?
Western Conference against the Lakers.
Derek Fisher. Yeah. Ooh, hits that Lakers. 3 out of nowhere. We had you. Game 6.
You know what? And floppy D-Box out there flopping and getting fouled out of the game.
Floppy D-Box. Oh my God.
Shaq dropping 39 and 40 in a game that you guys had to win.
Shaq? What was he, like fucking 2 for 10 from the freaking free throw line?
And you know what happened in Game 7? You fouled him so much he got into a rhythm. Lost a game, one of the very few times prior to that. It had been 21 years since a team had lost a conference final on their home crib. That was a 3.
That's who it was, Robert Ory. God damn it, Chuck.
Oh yeah.
You son of a bitch.
I was watching that game live. That was one of Chick Hearn's last games because he died in August of that year. Chick Hearn called that game. I mean, and it wasn't a lucky shot. They swatted the ball right to him. If you watch that over and over again, because they've showed it 1,000 times, he has all the time in the world. He sets his feet. He looks at the basket. He's not missing that shot. And then you see all the Sacramento Kings in slow motion running at him, knowing what's about to happen.
Bro,
Chris Webber looks like, oh my goodness. Vlade Divac says, I hit it to the wrong.
It's the timeout in the Final Four all over again.
And you just watch it in slow motion as he did the ball lead, and it's one of the smoothest shots. That's his shot.
Oh no, I am reliving.
I should bring it up and play it, but there's probably going to be some copyright issues on there.
Dude. So. Okay, as somebody who grew up in Sacramento, went to high school in Sacramento, like the Kings getting in the playoffs, they were a joke. They were a laughing stock. I mean, dude, we had Mitch Richmond and nobody cared. Okay. It wasn't until we finally got like a decent team underneath us with like
Chris Webber,
Jason Williams. As soon as Chris Webber came over,
Bibby was a pain in the ass.
Mike Bibby when he came over.
Oh
dude,
my God,
Doug Christie. That starting five was the shit, man.
That starting five.
Peja Stojakovic.
61 games that year. And it was funny because the Lakers eliminated them each year of their three-peat. And they got progressively better. The Lakers eliminated them in the first round. It was a 5-game series. They swept them that year where the Lakers swept everybody. The 2001, they lost 1 game on winning the championship. And then 2002, where the Kings had the best record in the league. They had the best record in the league. They had everything.
And Bobby Jackson.
Peja Stojakovic was another person brings up Peja Stojakovic who could hit threes at that time.
But did we have Hito Turkoglu? Oh man, dude.
Hito Turkoglu. Oh my god, and it was Rick Adelman. It was a Rick Adelman coach team.
Yeah, dude. Oh god, that 2002, stadium, that arena that they
dude, with cowbells. Oh my god, with the cowbells.
What a dump! I saw a Santana concert there once. It was pretty
cool. Wow.
But no, dude. The only team that won there was the Monarchs, and they're not even a team anymore.
Yeah, they're gone. It's funny because that year
Jerry West, I think, was part of that.
2002 Sacramento Kings were a better team than the 2002 Lakers.
I know,
but they didn't have the experience to close the game. The Lakers were the 2-time defending champions.
They had you in Game 6. They had it in Game 6, and it slipped away in 7. It was.
And bad. The thing about those 2002,
just like the Giants that year. Fuck the Angels. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I remember that 7-game series of the Angels.
The Rally Monkeys. We didn't even show up in Game 7, dude. We had it, and then
Barry Bonds did everything he could to
win. He had 7 home runs in the World Series, dude.
I'm like, if they would have won, he would have won. He would have won a World Series MVP. But no, they just. It was the difference between the Kings thinking that they could win that series and the Lakers knowing that they could. And when you have 2 rings behind you. And
you had
Jackson.
Dude, you had number 8 Kobe, like that was like rookie, like young Kobe. So like, dude, the team was unstoppable.
You had prime Shaq. You had prime Shaq.
Like, oh, dude, no.
All right, Keely Chow. As long as there is no NHL team in Atlanta, I hope the Jets never hoist a. Okay, well, you got to be mad at the you got to be mad at the Flames too, because the Flames left Atlanta. It's just not a. They've tried it twice in Atlanta with hockey. It's just not a good town for hockey. It's really, other than the Falcons, it's really a hard, because the Hawks have been really good lately. They made it to the conference finals, and it was really hard for them to draw for a while. Atlanta's always been a tough sports town. I don't know why, because it's you figure it has all the major sports, or it had all the major sports. But yeah, the Atlanta Flames moved to Calgary, and then I think it was what was it what was Atlanta's team? You had the Predators. You had the Nashville Predators that came in. And what was their team? I cannot remember now. It's been so long. Hey, help me out, Keely. What was the team that went to Winnipeg and became the Jets? Was it what was it? Oh wow. I have to look that up now because it's gonna bug me all night. Atlanta team that became the Jets.
Thrashers.
Yeah, I didn't even know what the hell that was. What was a Thrasher? And they had
the Atlanta Thrashers. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and they couldn't draw there. Yeah, it's like, wow, dude. So, all right, so let's see. As long as there's no team out there. Film Goblin. Is that okay? Are you Film Gob, or are you just a different?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, yeah, I remember having a conversation. I'd say check my video out on my live stream out about BVS. I would surprise you, dude. I'm not a hater, man. I'm on the same poster as you.
I'm outside of something.
I don't know.
I don't know what's going on.
We had an exchange where I got called a hater, and I was like, dude, bro, I'm not a hater. Like,
don't lie. Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, listen, we spun the globe around.
I was gonna say that's what you have in common: mutual hatred of the Montreal Canadiens.
She did something with some sand or something, and I think she set the newspaper clipping on fire. And then I didn't.
They were the best team in NHLPA '93 for the Super Nintendo. Facts.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better.
The Los Angeles Kings were the second best team.
Yeah, no. Facts. Now that Los Angeles King team that year, even though they finished third, you didn't have to finish high in the divisions to go and win a Stanley Cup, because the Montreal Canadiens that year were third in their division and they made it to the finals. That team had Wayne. That team had all the Oilers. That team had Charlie Huddy. That team had Wayne Gretzky. That team had Yari Curry, Marty McSorley. Kelly Rudy was a goaltender. He was backed up by Rick Knickel.
It was all Mark Messier. If they had Messier, they'd have done it.
But Messier, you know what?
No,
I think
Messier
this
won
is-
a
I think
championship in New York, dude. Yeah.
he won in New York, but the teams that he was surrounded by in New York, basically it was the rest of the Oilers. All the rest of the Oilers that left the Kings went there. If you weren't a King,
pretty
you were an
much.
Oiler. And Leach was great that year in '94. He was a big part of them. His leadership was a big part of them winning. He wasn't the only. He had an excellent team. That '94 team was one of the greater teams
It was
of the last 30 years. And
I
then
had
the
the
19
ESPN the tape for that, the '94.
Yeah, I remember that because it was 44 years of waiting. I watched that. And then you also had the team that he won in 1990 was basically that team. He doesn't win with that team if it's not built around Gretzky. Pottington built that entire team around Gretzky.
Oh,
Everything he had, Yari Curry, all those guys that ended up winning rings after Gretzky left, those guys don't win because that team's not. There's no justification for them to keep that team together without Wayne Gretzky. And if you notice, once those guys' contracts ran out and all that, they left. They left.
They called him the Breeze. You know.
Yeah, Curry became a King. McSorley was traded. He didn't want to pay Messier, and Messier went to New York, won them a cup after all that misery, and then they didn't want to pay Messier there either. And the guy, I forgot who it was, the general manager, his name's at the tip of my brain. He's like, well, how much do I got to keep paying the guy? I'm like, well, hell, out 44 years since it took you sorry asses that long to even get to a finals. Yeah, I mean, right. And then they've sucked. They haven't sucked since. They've been to the finals a couple of times. They lost to the Kings, which is great. All right, so sorry for the state of Canada. I didn't mean to do it to your entire country. I was only aiming for Montreal, which
because hockey's a good sport. I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, that's what happens when you use forces you don't understand, William.
Hey, I know it was 93. I was 19. I was 19. I'm sorry. Mitch Richmond went to the Lakers and got a ring. Oops. Yeah, that's salt in the wound. Sorry. Yeah, that was a tough one. Hey, how you doing, Jaden? All right, so let's go into some. Oh, first of all, if you notice from my thumbnail there, you'll see me standing with the Switchblade Jay White. I went to my first Las Vegas New Japan Pro Wrestling event for my birthday, celebrate my birthday week, and it was a ton of fun. I implore everyone who has never been to a live wrestling event, find a way, even if it's an indie. We sat through 3 tapings, which was long as hell, but we were ringside. I was ringside. I'm going to show you guys the pictures. But like I said, it was New Japan Pro Wrestling. Jay White, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the better wrestlers out there right now. He's held every major title. He's not even 30 yet. He doesn't turn 30 until like next month, and he's held every major title in New Japan so far. So
speaking of birthday week, I've got 7 minutes till my birthday.
Who cares? No, I'm just kidding.
Happy birthday, man.
I wish you in 7
Thanks,
minutes,
brother.
let me know. We're going to sing you. Brian's going to sing you happy birthday because I can't sing.
All right.
Let's say it's your birthday. Da 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 da. It's my birthday too.
Hey, wait a minute. It's a big 4-8 for you?
47. I'll be 47.
Okay.
Nice.
Old ass. All right, so let me bring up.
I'm young in here, huh? All right.
Yeah, and you're not, dude. You're creeping.
I got carded at 7-Eleven today. I'm like,
holy crap!
Did he have a dog with him? Did he have a dog and dark sunglasses on?
No. I was like, this happened in a while. I was like, all right. I even said it. I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony Grigsby.
39.
Those eye checks.
Right.
Yeah, you got one more year
You're
left.
You're only 39, Brian?
Club Metamucil, so maybe next year. When is your birthday?
It was just happened. It was July 21st.
Oh, we got a year, so I got time to prepare. I got to get you the Matlock, not DVDs. I got to get you the Matlock VHS. I got to get you your Golden Girl, your full season on VHS. I got to get you your diapers. I
love that.
Hey, man.
Yes.
Matlock was the shit, bro.
I got to get you all your fiber and all that stuff. All right, so this is okay. Am I up? How do I sound? By the way, I've been trying to get this mic to sound
pretty
lot
good,
better
man.
Okay,
not
good.
Bad.
Even
sounding good, brother.
Kermit the Frog, Cookie Monster hybrid voice. I hope I'm sounding a lot better because I spent a lot of money.
Hey, Kermit the Frog here.
All right, so this is my adventure. This is we were the first to file in. These are my seats. I'm sitting ringside. I've been
Oh,
watching
you got
wrestling.
ringside? That's
I
cool.
got ringside seats, and 40 years of watching and or attending wrestling events. I have never sat ringside, so this was a treat for me. That's
So
whenever I go somewhere.
did you get any of the blood on you? No.
Speaking of blood, I'm going to show you some. If anybody who ever knows me, wherever I go, I try to take a ton of pictures. And this is no different here. This is a huge big screen that they had. That's Tanahashi and Okada. If you know New Japan Wrestling, those two are the legends to you. Then that's the logo. Like I said, I just took pictures. I just wanted to feel the moment. This was the giant sign that they had. People were posting. This is the IWGP's New Japan's 50th anniversary. Was founded by Antonio Inoki in summer of 1972. So you'll see the 50th
So
anniversary. They were all over the place.
okay, that's a league I
Go
don't
ahead.
know anything about. That's cool.
Okay.
I don't know about the New Japan
League.
League.
Oh, it's beautiful stuff. This is at Sam's Town. If you've ever been to Vegas, it's on Boulder Highway. Yes, it's Boulder Highway, and it is safe. You don't have to. There's other things that happen on Boulder Highway, but you don't have to get involved in those things. This is a setup. This is a standard setup for a New Japan show. Sometimes they have rafters, but since this was a TV taping, the angles were cut off so that they could get a certain shot. If it were just a regular show, you'd have rafters and you'd have them up. But this time they just went flat. And right there where you see my mouse, that's where I'm sitting. I just went all around and took pictures from different angles. Let's see. There's another angle of the ring before they come in. And this is like right here. I wanted to give people a sense of what goes in. New Japan, when they do a show, it's almost like an indie show. So it's not like WWE. It's a much smaller show, especially when they're in America. That's the camera well. That's one of the camera wells. And then right behind it, you can see Sam's Club. And then you can see that's where the beer line is. So unlike a stadium show where you have to go out, get in a line, you walk from that back row, here's your beer and your pretzels are right there. It was a real cozy and a really cool feel. That's another angle. That's the other side where I'm sitting. I'm in the other side to your left, but that's another angle. There's the New Japan sign right there, and that's the ring entrance where you see that square gate. That's the ring entrance. That's where they come through. And he's not asleep. This guy right here. Can you guys see him? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I actually asked him if I could take his picture, so he was awoke for that. It looks like he's sleeping. I'm hoping I'm not getting him fired or anything. But that is the tech area. That is all the TV. They're doing all the tapings and they're making sure everything is synced. All the cutting and all the editing is happening right on site. Usually for a big show, you'll hear them talk about, we have to go to the truck for something, for that shot. Usually they will roll up a big tech truck that has all their stuff into it and they're wired into the arena that way, wirelessly. Once again, that's my seat. And I think I've shown, yeah. Okay. So I am going to show you the other, photo dump here. And I think it is, okay. So, all right. So here's some more. Yeah, we're still up. Okay. That's my big head. And, yes, before anybody asks me, I do have other shirts, but when I'm out at a wrestling event, wrestling is as part of the Sci-Fi Center as I am. So I'm always wearing my work shirt. And and I was handing out business cards there too. So there's me right where our seats. They had just done some smoke and everything. So you can kind of see that in the background. Speaking of blood, one of the matches was particularly brutal. He bled like a minute in. Juice Robinson attacked, I forgot who his opponent was, but he attacked his opponent like almost immediately, and he was bleeding before he even got to the ring. And so there you see his handprints and everything right up on the ring. After this match, they had to scrub the ring down. They had to scrub all that off because it's not safe for another wrestler to get in there. If you see it right there,
Jeez,
and in the middle,
yeah,
and then
wow,
the shot of the entrance. This is Shingo Takagi. Once again, if you guys, I really wish you guys, if you are into wrestling at all, please give some of these smaller federations, MLW, AAA. New Japan is actually not a small one, but it's just they're extending into America. So they're across the ocean and they're making a drive to establish themselves here, and they've also had to go through COVID, so they had to shut down. Wrestling really hurt. It took a beating when COVID came around. So this is me. Here's my seats. This is the angle I had all night. So I had all kinds again, and that's once again I went back there. This is Doc Gallows is in the ring. I forgot who this was they were facing, but once again, I just wanted to give people a perspective of where my seats were. And this is where everybody entered. No pyro, no nothing. It was really small ballroom. Let's see what we got. This is Juice Robinson setting up a chair for the guy that got bloody. And I have video of the him going through the chair. I'll put it on my Instagram, but they wouldn't let me share it here because it just kept on. Facebook wouldn't let me bring it on if it had sound. That's another. That's during the intermission. If you see right there in the middle, those are the two guys that are scrubbing the blood off the ring. That's what kind of show it was. Let's see, and then I got up close when I walked around. This was for a New Japan Strong, which is the American branch of New Japan. They have the dojos here, and this is where they train all their American talent. And once again, that's my big head. And then one of the coolest things of the night. Let's see if it's in here. It's got to be in here because I know I posted it. Oh, by the way, there's my throne.
You perched upon the throne.
Hey, you know what? I'm sorry if I'm really super proud of this throne.
You should be. You should be.
That is a styrofoam. That is paper, styrofoam, and glue. And that is two-dimensional. That is not a three-dimensional throne. We were able to aim it. And here is that's our thing that we do every week where we watch Game of Thrones. We'll hit that later. And that's it. And the actual bar itself, the square bar that's downstairs from me, you can kind of see where the chair blends in. But when you're sitting there, you can't see that. So we get tourists that come in and take a picture of that. But let's see if I can get back to there's one cool picture that made my night. Here we go. All right, there he is. Jay White. That is the champion of this federation right now. That is the International Wrestling Grand Prix World Heavyweight Champion. I hate that belt. The belt that you see me with, not the red one, but the black and gold one, the big one. It's in my left hand, I guess, if you're facing that way. That is the IWGP Heavyweight Championship belt. That is the belt that preceded the title that he's wearing. And that belt merged the IWGP Intercontinental title and that world title because they came out with the U.S. title. And they came up with that design, which I hate. But it is the title he has. The two belts that I have over my shoulder and along my side are two championships that he has won. And if you look closely to the bottom there, he has signed the U.S. title, which he won. And he has signed the world title, which he won as well. And then I'm standing in front of the Bullet Club, and he's giving me the Too Sweet sign. I was first in line. These belts are 16 pounds a piece. I was going to take them into the arena with me, but I'm like, fuck this, man. These belts, I was walking around a long time. He was looking, and I asked him, dude, Jay, how do you do this? These things are heavy. He's like, just like you're doing right now. And he's like, then I hand them off to somebody in the ring. And we went and put these in the trunk. But it was a good picture. And there's his signature, Switchblade Jay Wright, on my U.S. title. And it sucked here. I can fix this. He helped me get the belt over my shoulder because I was having a problem because I had both hands going, and we smudged it, but you can still see Jay White Switchblade there. So that was how I spent my September 11th because my birthday was on the 7th. And like I said, I if you get a chance to go to a wrestling event, even if it's your own hometown, local, whatever, go. If it's
William, I have a question.
Go ahead, man.
Have you ever been to a Mexican restaurant out there in Las Vegas called Sayulitas?
Not that I remember, but I've been here 30 years, so I could have been here. Where is it?
I saw it's over. Hold on, let me see where. It's Las Vegas Boulevard.
Okay, I stay away from Las Vegas Boulevard, North and South. Excuse me, no. That was not the difference in game 2. That is no. I watched that game. I have nightmares of that game. That's why there's a curse on Northern American hockey right now. It wasn't the high stick. Yes, he got a penalty for the high stick, but there wouldn't have been that curved stick. They were down 1-0. They were going to lose that game. There was less than 2 minutes in that game, and that curved stick came out. And I remember the taste, the vomit, the vomit rising from here up to here because I knew it was about to happen. So and they tied that game on that penalty, and then they went into the overtime. And with that high stick was not it. Without that curve stick, maybe you're thinking curve stick because there was a high stick penalty. I do believe he took a high stick penalty, but that wasn't the difference maker because they were up 1-0, and Montreal had a problem scoring goals throughout that 1993 playoff. That was why Patrick Waugh was so important because Montreal couldn't score. The only team that they could beat up is they swept Buffalo. And that was because they had lost a player. I think they lost Pierre Church. Oh, no, it was the Islanders. But they lit up Buffalo, but they couldn't score goals against anybody. They even had trouble scoring goals against the Kings. The next 2 games that they won were overtime games. And it was Patrick Waugh who won the Conn Smythe that year, his second Conn Smythe that year. That was why. That was why. But I disagree with you, Chuck. I without that curved stick penalty, the Kings go up 2-0, and I think they sweep not Edmonton. They sweep Montreal, and Canada would have been better for it because I wouldn't have strolled downtown. I would have gotten the gypsy or the witch doctor or whatever you call her. I wouldn't have lit all those candles. I wouldn't have had her do the little thing with the powder. I wouldn't have had I had to hold in my hand the headline of the Montreal Canadiens winning the group picture, just like the Cosa Nostra. So, hey, like I said, maybe you're thinking in the curve. There was a high stick penalty. There was a couple of penalties. And one of the things that pissed off people in Southern California is, you'd finally – we thought it was the old school people that never wanted anybody in the West to win anything, and they didn't want to – the 80s had been littered with just Canadian teams. If you look at the 80s, other than the New York Islanders won 4 straight. They won 4 straight, including a sweep over Edmonton in '83. And then after that, it was pretty much all Canada for the most part. You had 1984-85 was Edmonton, 86 was Montreal, 87-88 was Edmonton, 89 was Calgary, and then 90. So basically, the latter 3/4 of the decade was all Canadian teams. And then you started breaking through with Mario Lemieux and all those, and at that point, and then the very last team to win a Stanley Cup was the Montreal Canadiens. And at that point, I remember the stat that made me sick is the Montreal Canadiens averaged 1 Stanley Cup every 7 years. And I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, those bastards sure did because they dominated the 70s. But after that, after the whammy, nothing. But I'm just kidding. I didn't put a whammy on your team. You just have guys who just had bad luck. But anyway,
now William, why I asked you about that restaurant is because they do a 5-pound grilled burrito that has bacon wrapped around it.
Whoa.
Oh, I've seen that, and they have a contest about that. That's not a pretty situation because I've seen that contest, dude. Listen, people, it's because you think you can eat a 5-pound burrito in a prescribed time doesn't mean you can. You got to have a conversation with your stomach, and watching grown men and that look, when someone's about to throw up, it. I know it. Everybody knows it because we've all done it. That look of like vision, like ooh. And
there's
then
no
like,
point
okay.
in trying to eat to throw up. No, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, because they give you a prize, you don't have to pay for the burrito, and they give you a shirt. And I'm like, okay, so I'm on somebody's cell phone cam footage throwing up all over the place, and now I'm a meme for a free T-shirt and a free burrito. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, the burritos look tasty, but I couldn't do that in like a contest. That burrito would take me all day to eat. So probably take me a couple of days.
Okay, yeah, a couple of days away. So let's see. Happy Revolution Around the Sun. Yeah, hey man, you know what? 30th on 20th.
Speaking of which, it's 9 minutes into my birthday now.
Oh, hey, Brian, sing him happy birthday.
Happy birthday. It's your
Hold on, will that get us copyrighted strike? Isn't that a copyright? Never mind. Stop. Don't.
No.
No. Yeah. Happy birthday.
That was my happy birthday song. Welcome.
There you go.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, I can go grab the guitar real quick. Get it fired off.
No, I don't game. I have a very addictive personality. All right, so if I were a gamer, especially in this era, I would not have this place I'm sitting into now. It would have gone out of business. I would be unemployed in my other gig. I would be homeless because I have an obsessive personality. Once I get in, I want to win. And now we have networking and all that. I would be 300 pounds. I would have a long beard down to here. I would be unkept. I mean, even worse than
Hey, what are you trying to say, buddy?
No, I'm talking about. I mean, I would be.
He's talking about himself.
I know. One of those gamer chairs that I would grow into because the fat would just be. I would not eat right.
You'd be one of those guys that we would go in and turn on the light, and you'd flail your tentacles at us and have yellow eyes hiding from the dark.
Man, you guys are literally describing me sitting in my fat ass gamer chair. All right.
I learned
I
this
gotta
back-
go work out. It's been fun. I'll see you guys later.
All right, man. I learned back what kind of gamer compulsion I had back when I was playing a game called Castlevania 3. And yes, this is back when you could
Jesus.
call the the Nintendo hotline and try to win that game. And there were some
Ooh.
nerds sitting in a room, and they would be like, "You got to go here, you got to go there." That game was hard. I worked at the commissary back then on base because I grew up on an Air Force base, and I wasn't showing up to work because I wanted to win this game. And then finally, when I got a Sega at the same time, and I would go get the Game Genie, and try to, I was cheating.
Man.
I was just obsessed. And then now, as the game got better, and now you can network with other people, you don't even have to leave your house to interact. No, I would be a horrible gamer. I would be a great gamer, but I would not look. I mean, imagine me now looking worse than I do now. Imagine no Sci-Fi Center. Imagine me unemployed, buying all my game equipment on because I'm unemployment. I would be eating like garbage, Twinkies and pizza. That's it. That's all I would eat.
Shut up! Fuck! I got a pizza.
I
right
wouldn't want to
here.
take my eyes off of my neck. My neck would only be able to go this way, because I would be everything I would do. I would want to be doing while I was gaming. That's why I don't game. I know who I am. I know my flaws. So no gaming for me.
I wore into my neck. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't just describe Brian, but
Brian,
I don't have too many chances. But yeah, you did a
Brian.
really good job of describing my life. Thank you.
Brian, you're okay, man. You at least work a job.
I'm gonna go die now. I mean, basically everything but unemployment. So let's talk about Game of Thrones.
Yes, let's talk about Game of Thrones.
Before I get too sad.
You want to? What do you want to start with, House of Dragon, or you want to start with the actual series that it took you 84 years?
Let's talk about the series because I think that's the more pertinent, pressing matter.
Okay, hold on. Let me put the spoiler. All right, guys, we're about to talk spoilers because we waited. We literally grew older and into another year before. Now that Brian is done, he's part of the club.
Now that I am here, we can talk.
So we're gonna spoil the crap out of this show. So hold on, let me put the spoiler banner out. So because I don't want to hear about people. Oh, I've been watching the board. I'm sorry. I mean, I was only waiting for one guy. And
I don't know. Do we want to go backwards, forwards? Or
I just asked you what you wanted to do.
I don't know. I'm trying to think because the end is still fresh. You know what I mean? Because I went through this in 2 weeks.
Freshly shit is what the end was.
So here's my thing. I can't give episodes or did you like this episode? It's no, because they all straight up blurred together.
It's like when I bought Metallica stuff in the 80s. It was all one same mixtape. I didn't realize they were separate albums until later.
Basically, just a little bit. And Injustice, you're like, why do all I hear is drums and guitar? Oh, never mind.
Well, it's like I said,
what's your favorite Master Puppet song? I'm like, whoa, you mean side B of the one that has 3 different it has Kill 'Em All on it on the same one?
Yeah,
it's like we said the other night on your show, Brian. I can't name names of episodes, but I can tell you what happened in those episodes.
Pretty goddamn much.
Listen, season 6 was the gold. Seasons 4 and 6 were the gold standard of that show, and some of season 7. Season 4 was holy shit, so much.
Which season? Okay, guys, help me remember. What season was it that the Viper fought the Mountain?
4
for Tyrion. Was that 4?
4.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a horrible, horrible death.
for both of them, because he actually kills the Mountain. You do realize that?
Yeah, he poisoned him. Yeah.
I watched it with a group of people, and I had already watched. I'd already known who was going to win because it was
right. Well, I read the books, but yeah.
And if you notice, the guy who's handling his sword in that, go back and watch that episode. The guy who's handling his spear is putting poison on the spear, and what he's doing is he's sticking him where the armor isn't. So he's going to kill the Mountain no matter what. He's not going to leave that fight, even if he didn't think he was going to get his head crushed in, but he knew that the Mountain was going to die. In the book, the Mountain dies, and what happens is Lord Tywin Lannister sends, because he doesn't want a war, because he admitted the fact that he raped and all that, and that's something that they kept under the thing. But now he screamed it out and admitted it. He had to make peace with Dorne, and so he sent the Mountain's head to Dorne as a peace offering. He's dead now. We understand this.
Yeah, but they resurrected his body, though. They resurrected his body.
Yeah, they resurrected his body without the head, but he's that.
Yeah.
In the show, they basically he's dying, and they just find some way to transfer. Clyburn does some bullshit that what he does.
He just shows up or something. Like I was like, God damn.
Yeah, well, you see him, he's dead, he's dying, and then Cersei comes in and says, "Can we save him?" It's like some $6 million man moment, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, and then the fallen Maester Clyburn brings him back, but like in the book, they sent his head to Dorne.
Yeah,
but they kept his body alive with some weird alchemy magical shit.
Yeah, he just puts on a helmet. He just puts on a helmet so that nobody knows, because when you take the helmet off, there's no head because the Viper killed him.
All right,
the Viper killed him, and the Viper could have just killed him, but he wanted to get the confession out of him. Because Tywin Lannister wouldn't. Because Tywin Lannister, he said, well, everything he does, he did on your orders when they sacked King's Landing. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that gets connected to that with the Jon Snow series, and a lot of stuff that don't sleep on. Just because House of the Dragon is a prequel, that is not it does not have future ramifications. Because even though we got the prince that was promised, even though we know that the prophecy fulfills itself, there are certain things in there that are still relevant beyond even Game of Thrones season 8, because Jon Snow is still alive, and Jon Snow, spoiler alert, you see the spoilers, Jon Snow is Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah, I was like, what? No way.
Yeah, and that was always it was always a theory that's R versus L equals Jon Snow. It was always a theory that they had in the book because he was the only one whose parents we didn't know. But yeah, Rhaegar, there's more to what Rhaegar knew that was not ever touched on in the series because they fucked up the season 8. But Rhaegar knew much more. He knew that none of his kids were the prince that were promised. He had another dream, I'm suspecting, because otherwise he wouldn't have annulled his marriage, because he didn't know. He had to have either known that his family was going to get slaughtered through one of those dreams, but he knew that none of those kids. Because remember, he had an heir. He had heirs. He had heirs there at the castle that was sacked.
Yeah, he had Viserys, and
so he knew that they were all going to die, to the point where he annulled his marriage and had a child with Lyanna, and that was a legal son. That wasn't a bastard. So that he knew that none of his heirs were going to survive. So
remember, he went to the High Maester's tower and read a bunch of stuff too. Like, he poured through the prophecies.
Yeah, and remember,
right before he died on the Trident. Yeah,
that prophecy has been handed down for 200 years. So I think that, listen, I hated the last 3 episodes of season 8. I thought that it's not just because things didn't turn out the way I wanted to, but they didn't, and they wasted a lot of people's time and effort. But the quality of the show was not consistent with the previous 7 seasons. If you lead me on through a certain path of consistency, then keep that up to the end. Don't drop the ball. And then, like I said, you set the standards. I'm only holding Game of Thrones by their standards.
Well, and that's what I think we'll start. Is it kind of like, as somebody that just watched it, all I heard about was how bad season 8 was, and I did not all of it.
Just the last 3 episodes.
No, I agree, because I mean the battle for Winterfell was dude, so goddamn epic. And I don't care like how things were set up to end or whatever, dude, but I was just blown the fuck away. And then when when Arya Stark just with the Night King, I was like, I see it. Because, dude, all her training had to lead to something.
And when she said, I told you were going to close a lot of eyes, a lot of blue eyes. And then she sensed that, what did the god say about the god of death? Will say when you're going to die, something like that. Not today. I love that. I wish that had been pushed further into the season.
I wish it would have been Cersei Lannister, but that's just me.
I wish they would have pushed that. I wish they would have. Here's how I would have ended it. All right, I'm not the writer, but I would have ended it this way. I would not have had her burn King's Landing. I would have had her.
No, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah. Like, I would not. That pissed me off. I was like, what? There ain't nothing left. What the throne are you going to sit on?
Yeah, I would have had her go a little bit crazy, but I would have had. Here's the thing: what I would have had. The North had 11,000 soldiers that, remember, they were talking about at the end of the series. The North was along the gate. They were already there. There were plenty of Northmen to take on those the Dothraki. Remember, they had been diminished by the battles that they had fought. So you had a stalemate, and that's why they had to negotiate. That's why Grey Worm had to negotiate. He just couldn't execute Jon because he would have had to deal with the Northerners. That would have fucking wasted him. What should have happened is this. They take King's Landing, and she's about to do this. She's about to burn the city. And then Jon says no and stands in her way. The dragons know who he is. All right? The dragons know that that's a Targaryen. Only the Valyrian blood that they've held true, that has been consistent throughout the thing. Only that of true Valyrian blood or dragon rider half can ride on those dragons. He rode that dragon. Yeah. That dragon sniffed him. That dragon knew who he was, what he was. And
especially when he was walking up there and,
Yeah, and they know who the king is.
Yes.
The dragons know the difference between a princess and a king. They know that they can smell Rhaenyra or Rhaegar's blood on him. And I think there should have been a battle, a one-on-one battle between Grey Worm and Jon Snow. And we'll settle it this way. I challenge you to combat. I win. I take over the city. I'm king. You win. I'll leave. I'll take the Northerners, and that's it. But we're not going to burn the city down. We're not going to be the Mad King. We're not going to be everything that we both have fought against. Right. And I would have had Grey Worm not win. I would have had Jon Snow beat him. All right. And not kill him because that's just not his way. And as she's retreating, I would have had her basically, you know what? She's done. I'm going to commit suicide. But he stops her and just explains to her, it doesn't have to be this way. We can rule. A Targaryen is going to be on the throne. You and I can rule the right way. We can stop. We can end the cycle, like he was saying before. And that's how it would have ended. That ending was stupid. That ending was Bran, the king. Bran, and you know what? If I ever took over Game of Thrones, I'm using Bran to fix things. Because remember, Bran can affect time because what he did
was
with Hodor.
Three-eyed raven, man.
Yeah. So remember, he fried Hodor's brain by being there.
Yeah, it was a trip, dude. Hold the door. I was like, what?
That was a time loop. That was him, so he can affect time. Because if he doesn't go back there, then Hodor never has his brain signals mixed up. Also, remember the Tower of Joy when he screams out to Ned?
To Ned, yeah.
Ned hears him.
Yes, he does.
And even if Three-Eyed Raven said, don't do that. You can't, because you can affect time. I would open up Jon Snow series, whatever, I don't know what they're going to call it. I would open up a Jon Snow series with a really old Bran, reliving that awful season 8, the last 3 seasons, 3 episodes of it, and waking up in a different reality. Because remember, that was only one possible reality. Yeah. And I would have him undo those last 3 episodes, and I would insert it with that. But I would have loved to see the dragons basically turn on Dany. And once the dragons turned on her, that was her children. Another thing I wouldn't have done is I wouldn't have killed those dragons. No. The one died through a way that was 100% pure bullshit. When Rhaegar dies, the second one that dies. All right. Been in the military, shot some projectiles. And I know that a fucking harpoon is a line of sight weapon. You mean to tell me they made that wide ass turn? The dragon is looking directly at that fleet, and you're gonna let that slow ass thing from as far? Remember how far away that they were?
Yeah.
And the velocity, and how high? Not only were they too far away, they were too high up for that thing to make that difference. He would have seen that coming and fried that fleet. And guess what he does? 3 episodes later, he does exactly to the Iron Fleet what he would have done before with Drogon. Just fries the hell out of them because he comes in at an angle. They can't aim. They can't maneuver. He fries them all.
Comes in low.
Exactly. And then he goes high. He does exactly what the other dragons would have done. There were 2 of them. Even if she wasn't watching, they were, in order for them to hit them in the angle that hits them, they would have had to seen that. And this is like, oh, what's going on here? No. And you saw that the dragon could clearly dodge those spears. But they did that for effect, and I don't like the fact that they killed the dragons for effect. Now, with the one,
I don't like how.
All right, though. The first one.
I don't like how Viserion died.
The first dragon. Now, him dying. I would have kept him dead for a while. But at the Battle of Winterfell, Here's what I would have, because guess what? Remember those red women, the other red women that were introduced that were fucking useless that they never used again? Remember the one that was introduced in Marine? I would have had what's her name? Melisandre? Not Melisandre.
Melisandre. Yeah, you said it right.
I
The
would
red
have had
witch.
her assemble all of them, and this is what we were for. This is what we were created to help fulfill this prophecy. Our living beyond this point doesn't matter. When that dragon is fighting them, I would have had them bound hands and commit mass suicide to sacrifice their blood, because remember, they could bring people back. Bring that dragon back to life. Remember, the Night King could only control things that were dead. If they were to bring him back to life, that breaks the Night King's control. They would have had all 3 dragons. Yeah. They ended up winning the day anyway, but they would have rolled into King's Landing. But like I said, the way the second one died was absolutely fucking stupid. I thought that was dumb. Yeah, that was stupid. You're gonna hit, and then only three episodes later to show you how impossible it would have been to kill him that way. He fries everybody because you're trying to move these big ass wooden things around, and he's flying. The hardest thing we got. Listen, the army has laser guided. We have scopes. We have all the things in the world to shoot something down. It is still hard to shoot a moving target. It is the hardest thing you ever do in the military. It's the hardest thing you ever.
Are you trying to say, William, that we wouldn't be able to shoot a dragon down right now?
Not something moving like that. You'd have the laser guided anything, but even then, you have to lock on. And if it can fly that high in the sun, the same sun that they couldn't see in episode or the last second to last episode that caused him. Remember, they were looking dead at him. He flies in an angle to say, "Screw you guys!" And once he got down there, that it was over. It was over. The guys that were on King's Landing that were sitting there on the deck with those harpoons, they knew they were dead the moment they saw those ships go up, because they knew how low that dragon come in. And remember, they tried to shoot him, and they aimed low, and he went up. And you're talking about medieval slingshots or whatever the hell they were. They had to he's like, turn them around. You're already dead. If I was one of Euron's guys, I'm like, fuck this. I'm jumping in the water. I'm about to die. And it's about to be a horrible death. That dragon just saw me shoot a wooden harpoon. He knows I'm a dead. Exactly what they did. As soon as they shot off those first volleys, Drogon just came through and fired them all. Yeah, and went into King's Landing. And where it should have stopped is once he eliminated he just went around and eliminated all the threats to him, and there was no threats to them. Dragons are notoriously hard to kill, even with Clyburn's thing. Remember when season 6, where Dany brings the dragons in and just completely destroys the army that comes back from the High Garden after they sack High Garden, and Dany rolls in with the Dothraki, and it's this one of the greatest scenes of Game of Thrones. Dothraki are standing up on the horses, shooting arrows over the cavalry, and Drogon just comes in and he just cuts a hole into the army and lets the Dothraki come through. He's just destroying people. One of Clyburn's things there. They only got one shot off. And the only reason that they got that shot off is because she didn't know it was there. Once you introduce a weapon like that to something that can fly and move around, it wasn't going to happen. So that was BS. I would have resurrected the dragon. The same reason the way she died at the end, where she takes off her necklace and she just dies because her mission is done. I would have had all the red women there surrounding Viserys. Yeah, surrounding them, holding hands, and just dying and turning into dust and bringing them back to them. And then having that dragon pretty much lay waste to the rest of them. And then if you want to have the Night King die with Arya, that's fine. That's the only thing I didn't like about that episode is it was too soon in the series. I thought they should have gotten to King's Landing. We had memes with Cersei and Tyrion and everybody sitting on the Iron Throne with blue eyes, and the Night King is sitting in the Iron Throne. And that's what they were leading us up to. And then they just kind of they kind of rushed things. So let me go in the chat. What did you think, Brian, while I go into the chat? So now that you've seen it all.
I mean, I was disappointed by certain things, but then having conversations with people and putting things into perspective, was I disappointed with the way certain people went out in that show? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Cersei Lannister being one of them.
Yeah. Why don't you move a little bit to the left so that the rocks don't fall on you? How about to the right?
Right. No, but then somebody told me she didn't deserve a death like everybody else got. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Because I agreed with that the other night when we talked. Remember, Brian?
Excuse me? Who didn't deserve a death?
No, Cersei deserved a death, but she didn't deserve one of those ones that people would talk about. You know what I mean? She
I wanted
deserved
her
it.
to see her get eaten by a dragon.
Well, no, that would have been cool. But I'm just saying, like, I think she deserved what she got. Just like dying
She
in a pit of your
deserved
own
an
misery.
ignominious death. She deserved
She
an
deserved to
ignominious death.
die, but I would rather have seen one of the dragons like slowly roast her.
She deserved to
And then
die in the arms of her brother in a freaking pit of her own making. Like
Yeah, that was not
she
nearly as
brought
horrific as it
she
should
brought
be.
that keep down on herself just as much as Daenerys did.
I needed the head to
Because
come off the
her
shoulders.
refusal to stand down, she was offered multiple times. Tyrion almost got himself roasted, trying to bridge the gap, trying to urge Cersei to like just chill, man. Like even like with the battle for Winterfell, dude, she could have been like, all right, let's go. Come on.
And she double crossed him, and then Jamie.
No, she just like shat on him, and then the only one that really I gave a shit about was at the end was Jamie, and then he went back to the arms, and I was like, "Oh, dude, screw you, dude. You want to go back to that? You deserve a building to fall on your ass." Like, no.
Once she deserved, in my opinion, one of the most gruesome deaths, like a training day death, where when Lonzo got lit up with all by the Russians.
Well, and then the other one was the Daenerys heel turn. I'm like, dude, I get it. You saw it coming from a mile away, but like, it was still one of those things. Like, you'd want her to stop. Like, come on. After all the shit you talked, the breaker of chains and the
bro, I'm gonna break the will. I'm not gonna rebuild the will. I'm not gonna be my father's.
Okay, let's kill every motherfucker in the city, just
like, including people who have nothing to do with that. And like I said, that's where I would have.
I think it completely.
That's what pissed me off. I was like, no, dude,
I think it completely shit on her story, honestly.
Well, it was a bad heel turn, you know. It's just no, it didn't work.
Yes,
shit on her story.
Yes. It took credibility away from the character building that they spent all the time. Here's what it did: not only make shit on her story and just make her into some tantrum on wings, it fucked his story because I really wanted to see. And here's another thing I would have done at the end of that. I would have had him give a speech saying that you've known me as Jon Snow, you've known me as a bastard of the North, and all this, that, but I'm not. I'm Aegon Targaryen, fifth of his name. And while you guys dealt with the Mad King and you hear that name and you're scared, but understand this: while Prince Rhaegar was my father, and the blood of the dragon runs through my veins, so does the blood of the wolf. You loved Ned Stark, that was my uncle. Lyanna Stark was my mother. And all I've done is try to save the North and protect the North. All I've done is try to save the kingdom. And I think if he makes that big kick-ass speech that would have won him an Emmy, that would have been cool. And then I would have him offer his hand in marriage. I'm like, dude, you want to be the queen? Be my queen. Let's raise Targaryen babies. That's how I would have ended it. And I would have had Grey Worm. I would have still had Grey Worm go back to where he's from. But that ending would have saved that show. But I would not have had her burn the city. I would have had her act like they were going to turn on the city because they were like, we've come all this way, and you'd have had divided loyalties between the Dothraki and the thing. But the dragons would have been the turning point because those dragons, even though they're bonded by blood to her, they have an ancestral sense of who the rightful owner of that train. Drogon was smart.
That's why he didn't roast Jon for eating fucking Daenerys. Like, he was like, no, he understood. He burned the throne down and he took off.
Yeah, he figured that the throne corrupted her. But even then, I wouldn't have even gotten to the burning of the throne. I would have had her, I would have had the Grey Worms. I would have had the Unsullied at Dothraki just ready to go, and then I'd had all the Northerners ready to go. They're staring each other down as he makes this proposal, because right there she has a decision whether she can burn, because and because she could still tell the Dothraki to go and all that, but without the dragons. And I would have this epic picture with all three dragons literally kneeling down around Jon because they recognize him as Rhaegar's son. They recognize him as the true king. And I just say, hey, you know what? This doesn't have to end this way. I could burn all of your men right now. I'm not going to. I could have killed Grey Worm right here and then. I'm not going to. Let's be the king and queen that we told all these people who are following us that we would be. And I would have ended it that way. And they just, and I'm a knucklehead and I can come up with a better ending than they came up with. And like I said, when you hear season 3 sucked, it's not all season 3, because those first 3 seasons that lead up to the Battle of Winterfell was some good shit. Right, the Battle of Winterfell I watched right here on the other side of this wall with a whole bunch of people on a very large screen, and it was like we were watching a Super Bowl that had gone into overtime, and somebody kicked the winning field goal when she did that. Yeah. You know, it was unexpected because I didn't expect it to happen that soon. I didn't think they were, and it was leading to it. I'm like, dude, Bran's about to eat it. And then when she jumps over and he catches her like that, all the people in here the room went silent, and they like let out a gasp. And when she drops that knife, because I remember that's what she had done when she fought Brienne at Tarth, when she dropped the knife and they had her the net. That was cool. I mean, I had never heard anybody cheer as much for Game of Thrones than they did at that moment. But then the reality of the rest of the season, in the funeral pile, it doesn't really go off the rails until midway through episode 4. After they held those speeches and you see the toll and all the people are dead, they start making their plans. Arya bangs what's his face. They start making future plans about what's going to happen after they take King's Landing, and they knew they were going to. There was never any chance that King's Landing was going to. And that's another thing is they took the credibility away from the 3 dragons. Now, Aegon the Conqueror had 3 dragons, and he basically brought Westeros to its knees. All right, there are times throughout Dany's run through the show where the dragons, there's just nothing that can stop them. And when they killed them the way they did, or they did stupid shit with them, they took the credibility of the dragons. And now you see in House of the Dragon that's kind of restored because nobody fucked it. Remember that scene on the bridge where Otto, who needs to die a horrible death, but when Otto's on the bridge trying to get the egg back, when Syraxis comes down, they all shut the hell up.
Yep.
And when she brought in her dragon, everybody else shut the hell up. And it was those 2 dragons staring each other down. Anybody lesser than a Targaryen needs to shut the hell up now because there's grown people talking and they got basically an air force behind them because that's basically what a dragon is. It's like having a bomber. It's like having the only bomber. You don't have
the great lizards. The great lizards are here to talk.
Yeah, I mean, right. And so when and then they went back and this is where I didn't like the consistency. They went back and showed you with 1 dragon, her last dragon, she did to that city and that army. The Golden Compass, or whatever those knucklehead, the Golden Army, whatever those lames, those guys, all of the Lannister army, all that. 1 dragon did that. That's with the harpoons aimed at her. That's with a fleet of harpoons aimed at her. And that's with them knowing she is coming. So you mean to tell me that all 3 dragons would not have laid waste? So they kind of they undercut the credibility of the dragons. And I think House of the Dragons is doing a better job of restoring that gloss to them. So, you know what, Brian? What is your profile pic?
For what? Oh, this here?
Yeah.
That is the great city of Sacramento.
Okay, I thought it was something else. Sorry.
What do you think it was, William?
Let's move on.
I'm kind of curious now. What did you think it was?
I'll tell you in a private chat.
Okay.
I'll say he knows what it is. Yes, Gamer William would have a Batman neck. Yeah, I would have no neck. I would just be head and shoulders. I would be 340 pounds.
He would be William the Hutt.
Yeah, no. Like I said, and I would literally roll my chair around just like Jabba the Hutt's platform did. That's how I would move around the house. If
like I said, man,
food wrappers, stuff everywhere, dude.
They'd go to turn on the lights and you'd hiss, wave your tentacles, and have yellow eyes.
Yeah. Hey, you have 2024 till you're 40. Ooh, wow. So yeah, you were born in 84. Okay.
Dude, so, Brian, I did not realize you were so young, man.
Yeah, he's almost 40. It's over.
Dude, he's under 40. He's still a cub, man. I mean, he seems
you're going to start getting up, and your bones are starting to start making that sound. Like, whoa, what was that? I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the top.
That's a bottle of ibuprofen. It's almost empty. I take so many of those in a day.
Hey, guys.
No.
Guys, I distinctly heard my joint say "snap, crackle, fuck you" this morning when I got up from bed. So.
There you go.
Did you say with the Bengay? You got the Bengay going already? So
shit.
It's
icy hot, Bengay.
Icy hot on my back, man. Icy hot.
It's to the point where you can't even smell it anymore, and other people can. They're like, oh.
Oh yeah, no, I can't sleep most nights because my back hurts so bad. No, I get it.
So yeah, Game of Thrones, one of the greatest television series of all time, in my opinion.
I agree.
A couple of instances in Game of Thrones before we go off the topic that just kind of bugged me. Okay, so I like the Battle of the Bastards. End of
Oh
season
yes,
6, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Ninth episode of season 6.
Yeah.
I did not, however, like the way they killed the last Targaryen boy, not the last Stark boy, Riken.
Oh, Rickon.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of stupid.
Well, and that's another thing about Game of Thrones in general. Yeah, Rickon, yeah, he should have zigged and zagged. I mean, come on, you know. Ed Damon could zig and zag when all those arrows were being shot at him, but he was trained nice.
Exactly.
But the problem with Game of Thrones, and this is a problem that I do have with George R. R. Martin, the way he does things, is he kills characters for effect, and I don't believe it's always best for the story. Not only dragons,
Yeah.
but I think he kills people for effect, just to give you swerves and make it so that you can't get any connection and predict the story. He kills people for effect sometimes, and sometimes he does so much killing that he kills a lot of the story. He kills parts and pieces that really make the story go sometimes, and then you're left with lesser characters, lesser developed characters, because that's what you're left with, because your developed characters are dead.
There's
Well, I
a
think
there's a
Go ahead,
YouTube
Mike.
group.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead. No,
Sorry
I was going to say Rob Stark shouldn't have died. I think if anyone should have survived that whole ordeal, he should have. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm weird.
And the Red Wedding is just known for its death, which is fine. But like I said, there's just
Well, the Red Wedding is based on an actual historical event. There was a place where, okay, so like in Europe, inviting someone into your home, like they kind of said in Game of Thrones, in Europe with the royal families, inviting somebody into your home was like you didn't matter if those people you invited into your home were your enemies or not. You didn't kill them in your home. If you killed people in your home as a royal, people didn't trust you because that's killing people under hospitality.
It started wars. It literally started this one. So
and that's actually based on a couple of different historical events. One took place in Scotland. Another one I think took place in Germany, or it was in the Holy Roman Empire somewhere. But there's a group called Epic Rap Battles of History, and they've got one that's George R. R. Martin versus Tolkien. And the guy that was doing Martin,
I've seen those. Yeah.
The guy that was doing Martin was talking about I make you care about characters and then I kill them.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great show. It has inconsistencies just like any show does. But like I said, it was so good that when you had the inconsistencies, it really hurt the show. And like I said, not everybody needs to die. There's certain people that die, and it got better with it later on in the season. Like Melisandre, she needed to die when she lost her head, because that was the point where Dany could have snapped. But what I thought would have done to make Dany a better character is to take the other road, to have been through all that and then be better. At that moment, she could be better than any of the Targaryens, Maegor the Crow, all those guys, all the people that gave the Targaryens a granddad. And remember, the kingdom, if you read the books and you understand the way they felt about the Targaryens, they only hated the Mad King. They loved Rhaegar, but once Rhaegar was dead, they weren't going to deal with the Mad King. It was easier to kill the Mad King or to storm the castle. If Rhaegar had lived. But remember, it was all built on a lie because Rhaegar could not tell anybody. I mean, so I would love to see him, and I want to see him. I really,
I think he died. I think he died on the Trident because he did know. I think he purposefully got himself into that battle with Robert Baratheon that killed him because of what he saw. Well, I think he was absorbed by prophecy.
I think. See, I disagree simply because he would have gotten his family out of there. Even if he knew there was a point, he wouldn't have had his family die that horrible death. If he would, I think he thought he could take Robert. I think he thought what was going to happen is he was going to take Robert, and that he was going to come back to King's Landing, and announce that that he's annulled his marriage, because he put it in documentation so you could find out. People could read it if they wanted to. That was literally, Samuel Tarly really pulled up a public document. He literally went to what was the equivalent of a library and pulled out a public document. So Rhaegar made no secret of what he was doing. But what Rhaegar thought was that the Long Night was coming and he would be absolved once the White Walkers were coming, because he knew what was going to happen. Each and every one of these guys that took on the prophecy thought that they assumed that they were going to be the one that gave birth to the prince that promised, even though the prophecy says, from my blood will come the prince that is promised, and his song will be the ice of fire. When you hear that, or whoever hears that prophecy thinks that they're going to be the ones that do it. But I do think he knew somehow, either maybe by death, that his existing children were not going to be and that he interpreted the song of ice and fire, the Winterfell being ice, children of the north being the children of light. I mean, them being as close to the wall, that it was going to not just be a Targaryen, that it was going to be not Baratheon, but a Stark as well. All right. So I think I don't know if he went. I will never know unless they explain it. I don't know if he went there to die. I think he thought he could take him. I think he underestimated the forces that were storming the castle because he didn't know everything that was going on. He was trying to fulfill a prophecy while the Mad King was killing people, so he couldn't really dictate that portion of the story. So who knows? I hope that they explain it, because
hey, Brian, did you watch that documentary we sent you, that Stella sent you, for the Game of Thrones characters and their actual real life equivalents?
Oh man, no, not yet. I've been super busy between
playing games,
streaming and work, man.
Well, when you get a chance, watch that documentary, because it like I said, it takes like Game of Thrones characters and shows you where Martin got the idea from them, from actual people in history.
Oh, nice.
And it's really interesting who's based on who.
To answer this question, I don't know. I don't know with the show. I'm not gonna. I thought I could predict what was going on with the show based on the fact that I knew how the stories went, but they've changed some things already. And remember that this story is being told hand me down. Mushroom is there, but Mushroom is also hearing hearsay. Even though Mushroom, who in the books is the guy who's narrating the story, he is telling this to someone else, who's telling this to someone else, telling this to someone else. So by the time it gets to the people, we don't know. We don't know who's living or who's dying based on here. It would be like us. We have Julius Caesar. We have the Greek writings. We have Shakespeare's play. We weren't there thousands of years ago, and the stories that's been handed down has been lost in antiquity. So even
that's
though
mostly just historians.
Yeah. So even though that's the book is telling you from a point of view of somebody who's hearing it from someone else's point of view, they're telling you a story. It's almost like what I'm telling you about Santa Claus and his 8 reindeer from stories that I've heard from, even though there's a main character in there that's telling the story, we don't know how these origins go. But what the show is doing is it's giving you a direct line of sight now. So the show is canon, more so than the books. Even though the books are the books are giving you a vague description of what has been told to happen. The show, I think, is giving you the exact thing that happened. You're actually watching canon. You're watching the show. So now, as far as answering your question, maybe it would make sense. It would make sense that they showed you. They went as far to the north and even just showed you a preview of them, because they are there. We know that the White Walkers are there. They haven't come south yet, but you know that they're there. As far as the three-eyed raven, it makes sense that in every iteration of Game of Thrones that you would see the three-eyed raven, because he has that ability. There's always been a three-eyed raven. That's how Bran was able to prepare. That's how he's able to go back in time. He goes back in time before he's born. So I would assume my guess would be, if it's over and under 50%, I would guess about 55 to 60% that you would see both the three-eyed raven and the White Walkers in some form. We won't see them in the form that we know them. They won't be storming down with their butcher knives and all that shit. And you won't, but you'll see something that lets you know they've done a very good job of making this show very relevant and connecting it to the current, our iteration of Game of Thrones. So I would bet that yes. All right, so now we have episode 5, which is a wedding to wed Rhaenyra to Laenor. And Laenor does not appear to give a rat's ass about this marriage. He's doing his duty. I like his character because he's cool. He's having fun. He's the only character in the show that has fun killing people. As he's But it looks like they're from the previews. I won't show them here because I don't want to get a strike. But yeah, there's a fight that breaks out. You see that the time jump is starting to begin. I think that either at the end of this episode or in episode 6, you're going to see that the 2 younger actors that have been playing Millie Alcock and Olivia Cook are going to go away, and they're going to give way to their older versions of themselves that start having, because it's time for Nara to start having kids. You see her kids that just she'll have, and you see that. That's not a spoiler alert. You see that in the trailer. You see her holding a child. So
William,
yeah.
The Stella put in the chat the documentary I was talking about. If you want to take a look at that too.
The regular chat.
Yeah, regular chat.
Let's see. Okay. All right. I will click on that, and I'll put that in that screen. I'll watch it later on. I'm very wary of what I put up on the screen because I don't want to, like I said, this is not
yeah.
I want you to have to click on his channel and be like, you've been taken offline. All right. So let's see. All right. So they're both talking about that, Jay. But yeah, it's an epic show. And like you said, the House of the Dragon is making Game of Thrones a better show. It's filling in a lot of the details and answering some questions and some common sense questions, and you get to see all of this in a much grander scale. You get to see the House Valyrian, which you did not get to see, and this you get to understand what it means to be a Valyrian blood. You get to see some diversity, and then the people saying that, well, in the books they were white. No, they weren't. He never really described them. He described them as haggardly, people that of the sun. And George R.R. Martin is not an artist. He didn't draw shit. He described things, and the artist took it from, okay, we're saying medieval. This is medieval, so they're going to be white. Now, if you look at the game, not the game, but if you look at the map of, let's bring up the map of Westeros.
Hey, y'all, I'm going to get to bed, guys. I'm so tired.
All right, man.
Have a good night.
All right, night, Brian. Thanks for coming on.
All right, map. So let's look at the map of Westeros. So the whole. All right, so let's see if I can bring this in. All right, so if you look at this map and you look at how things are done here. Let's see if I can map of Westeros. Bring on the Amazon map. Oh, here we go. All right, now look at all this. This is the north. So basically, if you were to juxtapose it, it's basically supposed to be a version of Europe.
Yeah, it's Britain. It's Britain.
Yeah.
Britain, England, Ireland, all that right there, and Scotland, and then you've got Europe here. But down where the Dothraki are, like you said, that's like Northern Africa and stuff.
Yeah. Now everything here's the Narrow Sea. Now everything that is across this way is starting to head east. Even if these people were here were as white as these people here, they're landlocked. They just get on horses and they're going to migrate. So all this area here would be the equivalent, and you can kind of see where it's like, here will be like Saudi Arabia, right here where my mouse is, and you can see where the Persian Gulf and the Suez Canal and all that would be, right? All right, so in Qatar and all these places, you know what? I've been to these places in the world, and there's a lot of us there. We're dark. That is Southwest Asia. That is Central Asia. A lot of these places in the Southern Hemisphere, this the Mediterranean you're looking at there, Black Sea, all that stuff. These are dark people. So if Valyria was somewhere near here, the Valyrian stronghold is anywhere in this general area, and they fled from here, and here's Dragonstone right here. Everything that's east of the Narrow Sea is subject to be people that look like Moroccans and Arabs and Mongolians. All this middle section would have been Mongolia. So they're not going to look like that, So it makes sense that these guys look a little bit different, And like I said, it's just a matter of people just have never thought outside the box, and you pull out a map and you'll see. I mean, the Dothraki, where the Dothraki come from, they're not white. They look exactly as they should from the area that they come from. And Valyria, like I said, anything that's once you start reaching the Narrow Sea, it's not like they had to do a lot of hard things. The only thing that stopped the Dothraki from coming over and conquering was the fact that you had the Narrow Sea there, and they didn't have ships. They were a horse-driven community. All right.
Okay, so speaking from a white man's perspective, okay, most of the world is not white.
Yeah.
Okay, most of the world is at least swarthy skinned. Okay, so people like the Dothraki, people like the Koar, people like the Free Cities. Okay, speaking as a white guy, I think a lot of people blow that way out of proportion that the Valerians were all white. I mean, the white hair, the purple eyes, that doesn't always indicate that you're a white person.
Remember, there was a lot of magic involved in them. They were the Targaryens dealt with a lot of magic and then changed and had a lot of physical effects on them. Because remember, the only Valerians that were dragon riders are the ones that are bred with Targaryens. So there was a lot of magic there. So when they started breeding, that's why they bred with each other. That's why instead of if they weren't doing incest, they were breeding with their Valerian people because they were the only ones that were the left that had pure Valerian blood that escaped the doom. So,
well, quite literally, the island of Valeria.
By the way, what was the Valerian Doom? The Valerian Doom was a volcano. It was a volcano. Yeah. That tells you that we're going to places that were a little bit different.
What I was going to say about the Doom of Valeria, the island of Valeria, the kingdom of Valeria, was quite literally what in history was the island of Santorini, which was destroyed in a cataclysmic volcanic eruption back 3,000 years ago. It was a volcano called Thera. And literally, the doom is based on the destruction of the island of Santorini. So when you're looking at the people of Valeria, you're talking about people that were a mixture of Greeks and Phoenicians and Italians.
Yeah.
So they're all going to be olive-skinned people.
I was about to say olive skin. And okay, so if you look at this map, the Valerian. So yeah, all right. So I'm going to bring up this map, which is Valerian territory, and let's share it. And it pretty much illustrates what you just said, for the most part. Yeah. And so
it's literally in what would be the allegory for the Mediterranean Sea.
There you go. All right, there you go. So this is a territory that they control. So they would be so diverse that people that live in this area, there might be some white people, but the vast majority of these parts, and you're starting to get into, and here,
if you expand that area, the actual island of Valeria where they come from is right down there. You see where that inland sea is right there? That island is right there. So literally, it was a volcanic island that was destroyed because of volcanism.
And there you go. That's the larger picture of. Oops. Don't want to do that. If I can, I muted it. Oh, this gives you the map. I'll have to look at that. I didn't think I was going to do that. But yeah, that map, I want a better picture of it. But yeah, here's this one right here gives you the same thing. The Valerian Freehold. That's all that area down there and that purple area down there. You know, and then and you can kind of see that it's let's see, by episode 10. So yeah, so there's the Dothraki area right there. So here's one of the maps I bought up for. This is season 1, episode 10. So here's the Dothraki, the Red Waste.
We're not seeing the map.
Damn it. Hold on. What am I on here? I stopped sharing. Sorry about that. All right. So in Fire and Blood. So yeah, Valerian map, Google search. So here we go.
Still not. There we go. Okay.
So you look at right there and right at the bottom there. So this is all the former freehold area before everything went down. There's Karth. That's where Brienne is from, or not Brienne. That's where what's her face was from. Grey Worm's from, and I think, and and all this. Remember, there are areas that were migratable. Daenerys Targaryen. All right, so this is where the dragons were hatched, and that's where the Dothraki is. So you're going all these areas right here. These are going to be all dark-skinned people. So if granted, it's fantasy, and we don't really have to make that explanation. But if you wanted to get scientific about it, then you really if you can have dragons, you can have flat people. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's. I mean, and I think Neil Gaiman said it perfectly. I'm going to paraphrase what he said. He's like, in a world with orcs, elves, dragons, and metaphysical beings. If you believe in those, why would your belief be suspended at the? Why would that be the limit of your disbelief that any of those could be black? And that includes the characters he created. So I thought it was hilarious. The fantastical elements seem inevitable. I'm curious at how they will expand the lore. Me too. And like I said, this series has been great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, shut up, Clint. Yeah, so this is like I said, this has been a great series, but let's go ahead and go into where we are with House of the Dragon. So it's wedding time, and you know what happens at weddings. Fortunately,
Death.
every wedding that we've had here,
Death, dismemberment, and evil.
all the Ds. I don't know if we're gonna get all 3Ds, but you're gonna get somebody's dying. All right, so there is Laner. There it is. That is him on his wedding day. She's just looking like she does. Even though she's 23 years old, they make her look so young here, but she's a great actress. So that's him and his dreadlocks, and that's that hair. So they're keeping that Valyrian blood strong. And whatever kid that they would have, if I'll let you guys watch the show to find out all that, would be a dragon wire. This is Damon's wife at the
Rhea Royce.
And he makes her seem like she's ugly, and as you can clearly see, she's not ugly. She's hot.
Nope.
And that's in the series it shows a horse falling on her. So I'm thinking Damon has her knocked off so he can go after Rhaenyra, but that's just a thought. This is the carriage on the way to the wedding, on the way to see the sneak steak because he's going to offer his daughter up. That's the boat. Actually, no, they're on the ship. And This is them swimming not swimming. This is them boating to shore. There's the Kingsguard. There's the new hand. You can see his
Sir Damon Strong, I believe his name is.
And he's got his hand on because Otto finally got fired. That's them on Driftmart. Wow, look at her. She's so perfect for this role. I'm gonna miss her.
She is so tiny too. Yeah. Like I was watching an interview with her on YouTube. She is so tiny for her age. She's 22, 23, and she's little.
5'2". I love this throne. If this throne
the Driftmark throne.
I would make another styrofoam throne, and I would make this of it if I thought this storm was going to take off.
That's a piece of petrified wood made from a ship, right?
Yeah, and you see just all the symbols around. I mean, you see the House of the Dragon. You see dragons everywhere you go in this series, and on Dragonstone. But now that you're in his domain, you see things that are relevant.
You see things like barnacles and shells, and I like his office when he was talking to Daemon and he had the statues with the barnacles on them.
Oh yeah. And then you see Corlys talking to King Viserys. One Valyrian to another, and that setting is beautiful. And this is him offering up his daughter, because technically, spoiler alert, and the spoiler is still down there. Obviously, we've been talking about the king dies before any of this happens. He has named her his heir. Anything, and you see it in the previews where Otto's being a piece of shit and trying to maneuver things, that's treason. No matter what they think about the law of the land and that a woman can't rule, the king has made his decree, and the king's decree is law. So all those people that are trying to put her son in the chair are committing treason. And that's what starts this whole thing. That's what starts the Dance of the Dragon. That's what starts all this.
Yeah, I had to explain that. To somebody. They thought that the fight was started between Daemon and Viserys, and I was like, no. It's between Alicent. It's between Alicent and Rhaenyra.
It's actually Otto. Otto causes a lot of it, but she goes along with it because now her kids aren't protected by not being in. The only way their kids can survive, and from Rhaenyra is to assume the throne. But that doesn't end well either. But technically, what they're doing here by uniting their houses, Corlys is putting his generation, his bloodline is running through the throne now, and that's all they really want is their legacy. They want their heir, the blood of their heir, to be basically the next king. So even though he can't put, his wife, his daughter, he failed at that one. If Laenor's kids are his grandkids, and if it's a son, that's an heir to the Iron Throne. So that means House Valerian has provided the heir. That's a source of power for them. So and then she's kick ass. I'm gonna love this character, and she comes in on a dragon, and you notice in this thing she's wearing pants because even though they customarily wear dresses, she rides a dragon. So right there, you can't see it there, but yeah, there you go. She's on the throne. She's wearing her pants because there's a scene here, where and I think I showed it last night where and that's another that's a guy who's going to start some problems. And then here's Otto Hightower as he's getting his ass kicked out of the King's Landing. He's telling her she's going to come after you because she's going to see you a threat, and you have to put your kid on the throne, or Aegon has to has to take the throne, or there's going to be war. And I don't think that would have happened because they all swore fealty to her, and there's no if she'd married right, she'd have been okay. But this guy's a piece of shit. There's Kristen Cole. I think this is where Kristen Cole starts to turn because she's being married off to somebody he just banged. So there's the feast, the wedding feast, and this is probably where the fight starts. And I see people getting stabbed and beat up in the previews. And then, like I said, I think this is where it starts the tension. This is a cool scene because this is when they all walk in to the wedding, and there's Daenerys, there's a family, there's all the Valyrians, all that white hair. And they walk in.
The magic people.
Yeah, he's wearing what would be his tuxedo. There's a feast. There's an Iron Throne behind you, and people keep telling me that they've changed the Iron Throne. No, they haven't. They've broken swords off it to make it safer, I guess, and they've gotten rid of all the swords. Right, that's the same Iron Throne. If you look at the second row of swords, not the ones at the top that are all uneven, that second row that's pointing up, that's the Iron Throne that we see today. Something happens in between between now and then to where that either there's a fight or something happens to where they take it off, I guess, after. But if you look at that throne, that's the same exact throne that's in Game of Thrones. And what probably happens is after Viserys dies, they're like, dude, there's too many damn blades on here. So there's her in the wedding.
Now, do you think that the reason he keeps getting cut by the throne is that the throne rejects people that aren't worthy?
Well, that and it's tetanus. I mean, if you get cut by rusted metal and you don't have a tetanus shot, you're going to have health problems and your body's going to rot away. We don't deal with it now because we have modern advances, but the legend is that the throne will cut and kill an unworthy king. But I don't think he's an unworthy king. He's an indecisive king. But Daemon wouldn't have been a worthy king.
Come on, he's weak. Daemon would have been a better king.
Daemon would have started all kinds of wars. And look, he got himself into a war that he barely got out of. All right, these two dragons on your left there is Rhaenyra. She's riding her dragon. That's why you see her wearing pants. And to the left, you see her son, Rhaenyra, riding
Sunsmoke.
Yeah, Sea Smoke. All right, and that's pretty much it for that episode. I think
that's a big dragon. Maelys is a huge dragon.
Yeah, he's one of the older ones. And then there's another dragon.
Maelys is female.
Yeah, you'll see some of the kids coming along, and you're going to see a lot more dragons too. You're going to see a lot more dragons come around.
Well, they said that in this whole series, there's going to be like 17 or 18 dragons.
17. Otto Hightower might be giving the best performance. I'm surprised that's the Lizard Doctor. Yeah, all these. This show is beautifully casted. This show is beautifully casted. It is every actor and actress they have. Just they do a great job in making you want to hate them. I mean, Daemon is just all right. We should play the more speech from True Romance. No. So yeah, that's pretty much. I think I covered a lot of everything. This is going to be a pretty short show. Unless you guys got any questions for me. Anybody got any questions for me? I covered my wrestling. I covered Game of Thrones. I covered the original series Game of Thrones.
We didn't cover the Constantine thing.
Constantine. There we go. I knew that. I have that printed on the screen. All right, so let's see. Share screen. This is going to be a quickie, but yeah. All right, so MILF Magnet, Keanu Reeves has been tapped to star in a new Constantine, a sequel to the 2005 film. There he is.
Also, I have something to bring up after we talk about Constantine.
Yeah, there's some people asking, or anybody that care about this movie. It's been 25 years. They don't have to. They don't even know about it. They know that MILF Magnet Keanu Reeves is in it, and then they'll find out what they need to know about the preceding movie. I saw some other people saying, hey, we're getting a Constantine sequel, but we're not getting a Superman sequel. Guess what? People who make this kind of money can walk and chew gum at the same time. They do not view Constantine, Sandman, any of these abstract characters as part of the pantheon that is the Trinity. All right, them making this movie does not mean that they're stopped. It's not like there's a bunch of people huddled in a room and only one person in there can make a decision in the room. No, there's several rooms, several offices, there's several decisions being made. One office has people that are making decisions about Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. The other ones are handling abstract projects like the Sandman, Constantine, and any of these other things that come up. They can do all this at once. So just because Constantine is being made, and it doesn't mean that they can't do anything else. And the relevancy of the fact that why make a 20-year-old sequel? Why? If you have a MILF Magnet, you can do anything the hell you want. Tom Cruise proved that 35 years after Top Gun, he's still a draw. All right. So, and you just had his movie making the 7th all-time grossing movie. Keanu Reeves is of that ilk, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on this. This is low risk. John Wick averaged $75 to $85 million to produce, and it ended up making 3 times its money. It ends up roughly making around $330 million. That's profit. When you're a company that assumed another company that was in heavy debt, you do things like this to make profit. Either way, this doesn't hurt anything. This doesn't hurt anything. This doesn't hurt any DC projects. It doesn't hurt anything. It's a movie that they can make a profit in, and believe it or not, I know we stray away from this at times. Warner Brothers Discovery is a business. They're in business to make a profit. I've also, another thing I wanted to tap on is, even though it's not up on the screen, the rumor that Comcast is seeking to either merge and or purchase, more than likely purchase, Warner Brothers Discovery after they're eligible to be sold like that after 2024, which would put them in 2025. And my response to that, big fucking deal. That's not going to change anything. That's not going to change the trajectory of any of these DC characters that we're worried about.
Nope.
And people are like, well, look what happened now. They merged, and look at all the other people that's happening now. They're going to do that all again in 3 years. No, they're not. What happened with Warner Brothers Discovery, or Warner Brothers and being purchased or merged with Discovery, is the Warner Brothers was a devalued company, and the upheaval and removal of people came from the fact that those were the people at the helm when the devaluing from 74 million went down to 43 billion. What Zaslav is, if this rumor is true, that's a huge if. What he's doing is the rumor is that he's trying to cut the fat, make it a more valuable company, upgrade it, and then sell it to Comcast or merge with Comcast. If that happens, in order to get to that point, they will have had to upgrade and increase the quality of everything that they're doing. That means fixing DC. That means fixing DC films. That's all good stuff that we've all been wanting for the last 9 years. So if they are to hand this off to a company, not only are you going to get a better product than what they originally purchased, you're probably going to see a lot of those people who, because you fired people from the previous regime because they devalued regime. If these people are at the helm and the regime is increased in value, they're probably going to be brought along with the company that assumes them or absorbs them. Zaslav might go away because he'll probably take a golden parachute, but all the other soldiers involved, if, say for instance, Warner Brothers Discovery sells for $64 billion after being purchased by Discovery for $43 billion, the people who helped get that company back up to the $64 billion and added $20 billion of value to that company are probably not going anywhere. And anything that they're working on is probably going to continue in one form or another. So Warner Brothers, the potential of a Warner Brothers sale to Comcast means absolutely nothing for any of the things that we're discussing. Absolutely nothing. Comcast isn't going to disrupt something that they are spending money to buy after it's been brought up to its highest value in 10 years. It's just not going to happen. All right. So you're not going to, if Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery has them on course of improvement, the acquiring company is probably going to keep on that course because they're not going to want to devalue the company they just paid money for. So it is a meaningless headline. And I saw people reacting to it like, oh, this, they can't do that. And, this is why it's taking so long to get people in it. No, it's not. I will 100% agree that Zaslav should have had his DC head in place the first day he took office. But you know what? He didn't. And the fact that it's taking a long time is good. That means there's a certain list of names, and he started with Dennis Lin. That didn't work out because Dennis Lin did not want to divest his company in order to become part of Warner Bros. Discovery. So that doesn't mean Dennis Lin may have been on the top of the list, but that doesn't mean that there's not another list with some candidates on there that are preferential. They may have wanted him the most, but that doesn't mean options 2, 3, and 4 are bad. And they're probably, once again, we're fanboys. We cannot apply fanboy logic to running a company that we're not in the office for. We can be pundits, we can guess, but our face is pressed up to the window of an office building that we're never getting in. So I'm going to leave it there as far as that goes. But go ahead, what you were going to say, Thade?
Yeah. Okay. So, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, I think Sony announced some stuff yesterday, movies, a slate for the next couple of years, and they announced a new Karate Kid movie. And from what I've heard now, it's not going to connect to Cobra Kai, because the Cobra Kai creators have come through and said, nope, they haven't talked to any of us. They've just announced a Karate Kid movie that's like kind of sidelining. So in my opinion, Sony is making a huge mistake not connecting with the Cobra Kai craze going on right now, because that show is doing so well. And it's a Sony product. So it kind of they're kind of doing like some out of place stuff, like what they're doing with Spider-Man properties. It's kind of not making sense to me.
But here's the thing: when it comes to Cobra Kai, nobody thought that was going to take off. When the same people who are making the decision right now that you just brought into question, those same people made those decisions for the most part. Until they may make something that sucks, then it's kind of hard to judge against them. They made the decision for Cobra Kai. And when it comes to the Spider-Verse,
yeah, but you have to admit they are making mistakes with the Spider-Verse, though. Like Morbius didn't do very well. I mean, they even tried to re-release it and it didn't do well.
Morbius didn't do very well in the minds of a lot of people, even if you didn't like the movie. Once again, we're in business to make profit, not make YouTubers feel good about their guesses. And if you look at what Morbius did at $75 million, it made nearly 168, 170. It doubled its profit. It's double its outtake. And people are like, well, the production budget and the advertising, trust me, we fucking promoted Morbius. We didn't get shit. They did not spend any money promoting Morbius. So not only did they double it, not only that, that's just the 75 million in profit that they made, right? 75 to 80 million profits they made. They already had back-end deals before Morbius was even released through other streaming platforms that they got paid ahead of time. So add that money on top of it, and then you add the money that it didn't cost them to put it back in the theaters, and add that money back on top of it. All right, businesses are in business to make a profit. All right, so Morbius didn't bomb. Morbius wasn't a bomb. It didn't fail. It made a profit. And like I said, I get fan guys telling me that, no, it did only made this and that, because they're trying to compare it to their last Marvel movie that they made. But once again, profit, you keep your job when you make a profit. You lose your job when you lose money. They didn't lose any money on that. Now, as far as how they're putting the story together, I don't know what their long view is, and no one does. All right, and because we don't know that, we're in the absence of facts, in the absence of the knowledge of somebody else's plans, we have a tendency, maybe I'm guilty of it too, to fill in the gaps with our bullshit. Not necessarily you, but we don't know. There might be a big old diagram on a table sitting here where all this is mapped out. We don't know that. We don't know.
I'm just saying it seems like it just seems like a mistake to me. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm just mentioning it from the off. It just seems like a mistake to me. And to answer Beltray, it's not a reboot. It's an actual supposed to be a continuation from after Karate Kid 4. But again, it's not connecting to Cobra Kai, which Cobra Kai connects to the original movies. So who knows what they're doing right now?
Yeah, but when it comes to and I think Sony's handicapped simply because everything Spider-Man, they think that it has to be done the Disney way, and the best movies, Spider-Man movies I've ever seen, are not from were not from Disney. My favorite two Spider-Man movie are Amazing Spider or Spider-Man number two, Spider-Man two, Tobey Maguire, and Into the Spider-Verse. All right. Third behind that is No Way Home. So yeah, they make good movies, but no live action Sony Spider-Man movie has made less than $750 million, and that's with non-adjusted dollars. So if you adjust those dollars, you're getting up there. So they know how to make movies. What they're doing as far as their universe goes, I don't know. I don't know, but once again, we have to understand that we aren't the storytellers. We're guessing. We got our face pressed up against that office that we're never going to be in, trying to guess what people who are far more qualified than us are going to do next. Does it look messy now? Yeah, but I think that once they lay it out, it might not be a grand plan, but I don't think it's completely bereft of any common sense. Let me answer this super chat real quick. Fourth 1000. I'm hoping they go Justice League Dark from Constantine 2 and not to building it in. I think there's no chance in hell. I love you, Fourth, and thanks for the super chat. I don't think Zaslav sees any value in that franchise in that state. And from just judging from his words, I think he's thinking Trinity. I think the only reason you're getting a Constantine movie is because of a MILF magnet can play the star and they can make some quick money off of it. I don't think that you will see this universe connected to that. I don't think he sees Justice League Dark. I don't think they see Constantine as the same, like I said, along the IPs of Superman, Batman, and Trinity, and that's their focus. I think that you'll see, maybe another Constantine movie after this, but I think there's no way we see Justice League Dark, especially with the pretty much dismissal of J.J. Abrams. I don't think there's any chance that Justice League Dark happens anytime soon, maybe years down the line. But they would have to answer a lot of questions to their stockholders of why are we doing Justice League Dark when we have not firmly established the Justice League and we haven't made our money off of there. Somewhere down the line, yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen from Constantine. I think that's too soon, and they haven't laid the groundwork for it. So I think this is a solo type. I think this will be considered what will be a DC Black Label thing. To where it happens within its own universe and is not necessarily connected to anything else. Who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe within that DC Black Label universe, they could create a Justice League team or something in the name of. I just, from hearing Zaslav talk, the universal characters that are the Trinity seem to be where he thinks he can make up a lot of financial ground. I don't see anybody making up that kind of ground on with Justice League Dark. But once again, I got my face pressed up on the same window that everyone else does. I have no inside information. Could be wrong, and you could be 100% right. And if so, we'll get back. We'll come back and revisit this. All right, Sith Holocron, do you think they will connect Constantine? Okay, I don't. I don't see any value in it for them to connect it. If you're saying connected with Justice League Dark, I would see value into making the connection after you have established your main core characters, and maybe as you introduce them, because that's basically what Justice League Dark is. It's supporting characters that have grouped up. In main characters, Constantine is a supporting character from Sandman. All of those are supporting characters from other groups. So I would find it weird that they would go forth with something like that without having to establish the world. We don't even know what universe half our stories takes in. I'm going to say no. But once again, I have no inside. I mean, I'm going to say no, but I could be wrong. I mean, hopefully, I'm sorry for the vagueness of my answer, but once again, I'm always in the realm and in the I can guess all I want to. I have to let the storyteller tell their story.
I'm more than willing to wait for the long game, to be honest. But I don't know. See, I've got a bad relationship with DC right now, just in general, because I personally think that they've made quite a few snafus, and I'm not interested in the story anymore, and that's my problem. I have no interest in watching Black Adam really, except for the Justice Society stuff, and that's not really worth watching that movie. I mean, I probably will, but I have no interest in the second Shazam movie, and I'm slowly losing interest in Flash.
All right,
and I'll watch this Constantine thing because I like the original one, but again, DC properties just don't appeal to me.
When it comes to this Karate Kid thing, I think the biggest problem is that it's Karate Kid. When you're making something like this, you doing something, because remember, Cobra Kai started out as a YouTube show, and then it got dumped by YouTube and picked up by Netflix, correct? So if this were a
Well, it didn't
network
get
TV
dumped;
show,
it got sold. But
it got
yeah.
sold, dumped. That's my word for sold.
Well,
That's
actually,
fine.
they kind of dumped themselves because YouTube Red wasn't doing well.
Yeah, and I
They
remember
actually
all that.
shopped themselves out to Netflix.
So if you were to put, I don't think the Karate Kid IP has that kind of appeal outside of Netflix and outside, like when you're trying to make movies and I just don't think that it has that kind of appeal in a small streaming universe, maybe. But when you're talking about making, I think their biggest hurdle is the fact that they're doing an IP like this on the big screen that I don't think has the strength to justify it. You want to do it on YouTube or Netflix, that's one thing. You're talking about supported dollars that are supported by the entire streaming service. But when you're talking about production budgets for a single movie that has to justify itself, I just don't know if the Karate Kid IP, I don't even think Cobra Kai movie would be able to justify the type of money that would be made to make it. It would be on a Netflix budget, which are decent, but they're not theatrical budget. But
Have
when
you
you say
looked at the numbers on Cobra Kai? It's doing really well.
yeah, but there's a difference between doing well on a streaming service that you already have and making the investment of getting into your car, getting the kids together, going down, going to the movie theaters, price of gas, paying for snacks, paying for the tickets themselves, and making that investment. And the investment that you make on your $12 to $14 streaming service is a whole lot different than the one that you actually make when you go down to the box office. That's a testament right there that you're saying. I can sit
You're
on my
preaching
screen.
preaching to the choir with me because
But
I
yeah,
don't vary. I mean, I
big
pretty
numbers on
much just
Netflix.
do.
Big numbers in the theater. That's why Top Gun did not want Top Gun released on Paramount Plus, because it would have done huge numbers on Paramount Plus, but it was a movie worthy of being in the theaters, and he knew they could make the money. So when you say typical Sony, listen, dude. Sony's had a lot of wins this year, so they're not doing bad at all. They're about to have another.
Anthony, I want to stress again, it's not a reboot movie. It's a continuation off of part 4, which was not the reboot. It's a continuation off the next Karate Kid. So it's not a reboot, it's a continuation.
Yeah. I agree. I'm just wondering that, okay, will either of these, will the new Karate Kid or Cobra Kai, would they translate into anything box office? Cobra Kai is great where it is. It's in the safety of streaming.
And the thing is that the thing is they already working on 2 other spin-off shows from Cobra Kai. And you're right, it's doing really good on streaming. It should stay on streaming. I don't think a big screen Karate Kid movie right now is a good idea. I don't think that IP has the strength, like you said, William.
Keep it on Netflix, and like I said, that's the biggest thing. It's doing fantastic job. Yeah, and that's great. I mean, like I said, I'm not. By the way, guys, don't send hate mail. I'm not knocking Cobra Kai. I just think that certain shows are where they're at and where they are best suited, and they're best suited to continue. All right, so
it's like okay. So for example, like Stranger Things. Stranger Things does really good on streaming. Do I think they should make a Stranger Things movie? No, I don't think it would have the appeal on the big screen like you're talking about.
Yeah. Could I see Zatanna? I could. It all depends on the story that they're trying to sell, because but I don't see them taking a step into that type of group. They just don't seem to. I would be okay with it. I just unless Zaslav comes out and says differently, or the new head of DC says differently, they just seem to have all their arrows aimed at that red S, that bat, and that golden lasso, because that is the quickest way that you can touch. Now these other ones are abstract. They struggle in selling comics. So I mean, now you're trying to get them to a general audience. So who knows? Once we get a new head of DC and he's given the mandate by Zaslav, and we know what's going on, it's going to be a lot easier to answer these things. Okay, helps that Keanu Reeves said on air that he'd be willing to do Constantine. Yeah, and he doesn't cost a lot. I mean, he doesn't spend any money. He's in a very good financial. He's 58 years old. He's doing well. He's got John Wick coming. I mean, he's in a good place right now. And
Stella does say later on that they're working on the John Wick. They're trying to draw in the John Wick crowd.
Yeah, which is smart thing. Get that MILF money. Get it. It's out there. I think that why it's wise for DC corners a market on R-rated. I agree.
They're not
I
going
think
to though,
they're
because
not going
Marvel's
to
already
because
planning. Marvel's already planning 3
well, they
R-rated
already
movies.
have it cornered. They already have it cornered because if you look at the if they want to continue along the Joker realm, Suicide Squad, Marvel will never do R-rated movies on that level. If they do R-rated movie, and the reason why is financial. Whenever you do an
No,
R-rated
they're
movie,
doing look, dude. They're gonna put out
Deadpool's not going to be
Deadpool
R.
3.
Deadpool's not going to be R. It's not
Yeah,
gonna
it
be R.
is.
I will
They've
bet you
already
money
said
on
it is.
it's not going to be R.
Ryan Reynolds Ryan Reynolds has already confirmed that it is, and so is Feige. They've
Okay.
already said they're going to
If
keep it
Feige's
R-rated.
not, remember, Feige answers to somebody. He can say whatever the hell he wants to. If Chapek says no, you're going to cut. Maybe, but they've already said.
Dude, they've already put they've already put parental controls in place on Disney Plus to allow for R-rated material. They are going to move into the R-rated. They're going to do some Marvel Black Label stuff. I'm telling you.
They're not going to corner anything. That's just
Neither
not
is
who they are.
DC can't even keep a cohesive universe right now,
It
William.
doesn't matter though. They're better at R-rated movies than Marvel will ever be. It's just not in the DNA what Marvel is. Until I see that R in Deadpool, I won't believe it. Because like I said, it ain't like the old Feige days where he was God. He can be overruled, and he's had a lot of control taken away from him that he didn't have to deal with 5 years ago. His budgets are no longer. I mean, he's had to answer to things that he did not have to answer to before. Now that there's different management up top. But as far as R-rated movies, I already think that DC's already well on its way to having that market covered. You have Peacemaker, you have Suicide Squad, you have Joker, and you have the Batman. Well, the Batman was PG-13. Shit, in my ass.
Jade makes a good point. The Hellraiser reboot is going to Hulu and Disney Plus. I mean, there are R-rated material going through to Disney.
Yeah, but
Disney okayed the Hellraiser reboot.
But when you're talking about Marvel Studios, it's a big difference. It's a big difference because you're talking about a brand. Hellraiser already has R-rated built into it. I don't care what version of Hellraiser you've seen, you know that's R-rated. R-rated is not built
those
into
properties,
the Marvel brand.
The point I'm making is those properties are still owned by Disney, William.
They're still owned by Disney, but look at the separation of brand. You're never going to have Pinhead branding with anything remotely close to what Marvel Studios is. So within Marvel Studios, that's when he said quarter of the market. We're talking about DC Studios and Marvel Studios. Within those studios, they're going to keep that consistency. Outside of that, shit, you could watch Saving Private Ryan was Amblin, which was Disney, and there's heads being blown off of there. But they've always done a good job. They don't cross that brand over because they have brand loyalty and brand trust. People know what they're getting when they're dealing with the MCU. Same thing with DC. You're getting movies like, Suicide Squad. You're getting the Joker. You know that even your mainline stuff that's PG-13 is going to press the limits to R. Fucking Batman is an R-rated movie. The only reason why Batman is not the R, all that violence, because they don't show blood. But he's crushing people's skulls. He's running people over. He's blowing up. There's tortures. I mean, there's dismemberment. All 3Ds are in there. And that's a PG-13, just like The Dark Knight. Fucking Joker puts a pencil through a guy's skull implicitly, and he's a mass murderer throughout the movie. People getting their faces burnt off, PG-13. But it's PG-13 in spirit, but in the bullshit level, it's an R-rated movie. All right, Marvel doesn't. That's just not what they are. Once you brand something and you get people to trust your brand, you just don't. Companies that are successful won't do it. Hellraiser is an entirely different brand, same umbrella, yes, but different brands within that umbrella. I don't see them doing it because, once again, I think they know what's working. They're not going to mess with something. They don't need to go R. Not every movie needs to go R, by the way. You can do some really violent stuff without.
Yeah, the movie Red Dawn, the original Red Dawn, was PG-13.
PG-13. That's a load of crap. That is a load of crap.
That movie was R.
PG-13 movie because it was released alongside of Flamingo Kid. Those are the first two PG-13 movies. Red Dawn is an R-rated movie from when the credits roll and all those kids are getting slaughtered at point blank. All right, you're executing people. you're implying
Still
rape.
went under PG-13. Still went
That
under the
was PG-13.
PG-13 scope, though.
Okay, that's a PG-13 movie. That's what I mean. But when you see Red Dawn, the commercial, dude, the commercials for Red Dawn were showing these people getting shot up. They were showing the bombs getting dropped up. So the commercials should have told you that. And in PG-13s, it was a scam. It was a scam because they had the Rat Pack, which was Charlie Sheen, or not Charlie Sheen, but
he was part of it. He was part of it.
Yeah, it was Charlie Sheen, all the Rat Pack, Leah Thompson, all those people. They were that was the demographic that they wanted young people to go see, but they couldn't make it an R movie because then you had to have your parents, and parents up to this day are very, hesitant to send their kids off into the R-rated universe, and they damn sure were back in 84, 85. So they made this bullshit rating PG-13.
So,
like, come on.
I think the whole rating system doesn't work nowadays anyway. I mean, not really. It's a retarded system.
It doesn't work, but parents still refer to it, though. I know because when I hand out movie tickets, I get a lot of question about how I know a lot of people who gave me their tickets back to Batman. Once they saw some of the graphic, once because we had the little explainer things to let you know there's gratuitous violence, there's some stuff in here, and if especially here's another thing with Brand, with Batman, if you've grown up with Batman the animated fluff, and you're bringing your kid in his first Batman movie is the Batman, big culture shock. That is not the same Batman that's floating around there in that damn cartoon. And I had a lot of people that were not mad at me, but they were looking in wonderment like, this movie's really violent. When he beats that guy's brain and says, "I'm vengeance," that's whoa. And when he's chasing the Riddler down and no regard for anyone around him, flipping the Riddler's car over into a concussion.
That's Penguin, not Riddler. Penguin.
I'm not
Penguin,
Riddler.
not Riddler.
Penguin. I don't know. I'm looking at Riddler right now on my show. Just the violence alone. I mean, just the human trafficking, all that stuff. That's some top level stuff. And I had people come up to me. They didn't. That's not the Batman they were expecting. And a lot of people were turned off by the brutality of I loved it. I love the Batman. My favorite overall Batman movie. But depending on what Batman you've branded yourself in, you have to be very forthcoming to your customer and let them know, hey, this movie's kind of fucked up. And they didn't really do that. So, but with Marvel, it's different because Marvel only has the one generation, one right now. The MCU is for the most part one generation. They haven't had to hand off. The only versions of these characters are the ones that you've seen already. You've only seen one Captain America so far. You've only seen one Iron Man. You've only seen one Thor. Blah blah blah. Right?
We've seen two Captain Americas so far.
But within the same generation. But you haven't had a softer version of Thor. You haven't had a hardcore version of Thor that split heads with his axe and blood on the hammer type of Thor. You haven't had that. You've only had the one versions of these characters for the most part. So your brand loyalty is already there. DC's had versions of Batman that dropped grenades in guys' pants and blows up whole chemical factories to a cartoon version that's nowhere near as violent as those. And a lot of people that are in Batman now, that was the first Batman that they saw. So their branding for them is going to be a lot harder than it would have been for Marvel, but Marvel only has the one brand. So I think DC has that R market covered, but you don't have to go R. Like I said, PG-13 is a very shady, ambiguous rating to where you can do a lot of stuff. As long as you don't show full frontal nudity, male nudity or female nudity, as long as you don't show a lot of blood and dismemberment, you can pretty much do a lot of stuff in PG-13.
Well, in my personal opinion, I think that they blur the lines way too much with the rating system anyway. That's why I say it's an outdated system.
Well, it is, but once again, and you have streaming, you have all these other stuff that kind of makes it a little bit more blurred. But at the same time, this is what parents are looking for, and this is when we survey parents. They'll ask me, like I said, sometimes they'll ask me if I've gone to an earlier screening. Sometimes I've gone to 2 screenings. So the second wave of people that we have a screening with, I can kind of tell them. And the biggest questions on their mind: how bad is the sex in it? How violent it is. Those are the top 2 questions that I get from parents that want to take their kids to some of these movies. And they trust me with like telling them, okay, yeah, there's a lot of TNA in there. You don't want to take your kid. If that bothers you, I want to give them the ability and the right to make that decision going in. If I can,
I actually think I actually think that the rating system they use for television is a better rating system than the movie rating system, because the television system will tell you TVMA, or it will tell you, TVG for everybody. It's like it's a more in depth like explanation of what's in those shows than looking at the movie rating system.
Let's see. People are saying, um, and here's another thing. Comcast. I think Comcast, because Comcast owns a portion of Hulu. I think they're trying to drive up the price. I think it'll eventually happen, but like Campia said the other day, I think Disney's going to end up paying a lot of money for to finish that off, because they're going to drive up the price.
Well, Disney already has its clause in Hulu, because
They
Hulu.
do, but they don't. They have controlling interest, but they don't have all the interest, which means they're, because Comcast has the other part of it. Comcast Universal has the other part of it. So whatever sell has to be, they both have to sign on up on it. And Hulu or Comcast could really screw them. I don't think Comcast has any interest in buying Hulu. They just want to fuck Disney Plus. They want to make them bleed out. They want, 3 to 5 years after paying $74 million for Fox, that they're still swollen from that one. So if their competitors, they're going to be like, yeah, screw you. You're going to get us out of the Hulu game. You're going to pay for that. Yeah, Hellraiser's going to Disney Plus, but once again, if you look at Disney Plus now with the parental controls, it's different. But that is going to be nowhere near the branding of a Disney princess or MCU movie. It's just different. I'm really.
I mean, they've already put some of the R-rated Marvel properties are already on Disney Plus. Logan's there, Deadpool and Deadpool 2 are there. They've got all the Defenders shows from the old old Netflix.
But here's the thing, though. Those are things that they acquired versus things that they produced. Having it on there, they would have, listen, if it wasn't for Fox, none of those things you mentioned would have ever been made. Disney would have never made Logan. Disney would have never made Deadpool.
Point is, they're already absorbing it, William. Things change.
The difference between absorbing something and producing something are different. They're absorbing content as opposed to producing content. Just because they absorbed Deadpool and they absorbed Logan doesn't mean that they're going to produce content going forward that reflects those properties. Though they own those now and they're going to make money off of those now.
And I'm telling that there's been different said, though, William. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nothing.
That's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, there's nothing that indicates that they would go in an R-rated direction, because it's money. There are still parents out there that are hesitant to send their kids or take their kids to an R-rated movie, even a PG-13 movie. It's just very weird. They won't openly say it, but they'll say it with their pocketbooks. And Marvel knows that. Fox was different, though. Fox was different. They did things, like I said, if Fox had never existed, you would have never gotten a lot of movies. And, thank good that you got them. But Fox didn't operate under the same auspices as Disney did. Their mandate was different. But there's no way Disney was going to acquire them and not show their movies. But I don't think you'll see some of the stuff that they've done going forward, because it's just not their market. They're not going to break a machine that's not broken. The biggest thing you has is boredom right now, because there's just the stories all over the place.
On this one, we'll agree to disagree, William, and we'll just say we'll leave it up to the future.
Yeah, I just like I said, I just don't see it. But who knows? Like I said, once again, none of us are in the office. I would, if I had to bet, and I'm in Vegas, I would bet that you'll see a very neutered version of anything that like I said with Daredevil. Dude, Daredevil's a brutal show. I love Daredevil for its brutality, but I don't think you're going to see that same Daredevil type that, even if it's the same guy. I think you're going to see a Disney MCU version of that character. One that is,
I still think but I think there's still brutality in the MCU properties, though.
Okay. Yes, there's violence. The kind of
brutality. I mean, we literally got to see Black Bolt's head explode and blood run out his nostril.
But if you look at Daredevil TV show, shit, every other scene was a fight in a hall. That fight in a hall was like, whoa, Punisher. I mean, there's a veil of brutality that was in the Netflix shows, and that's in Daredevil. Hell, with Shatterstar and all those characters get caught up when they all die. I mean, spoiler alert, sorry. They die in violently brutal ways. That's what Deadpool is. the type of violence that's in the MCU is a different type of violence. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be especially Daredevil. Deadpool is going to be the barometer as far as cinematically goes, but as far as their TV show goes, I wish you were going to see the same exact Daredevil that you saw there with the original.
And I think you might. I still think it's possible that you might. I still think it's possible that you might. I think that there is, in my personal opinion, I think there is a place for Marvel Black Label products.
Oh, me too.
Basically, just make it Marvel Knights.
We just did a whole show about the one writer that took Marvel Comics to that level and made X-Men what it was, and that was Chris Claremont. He basically was doing Black Label, higher end, R-rated content in the comics long before anybody could comprehend it. I would love if there's a place for that. I just think that Disney is a different animal when it comes to the MCU. They want to be inclusive of everybody. They want to give you a general brand. Once again, could that evolve? Maybe. I don't think it's under Chapek. I think Chapek is old school. But once again, I would love to be wrong because I actually, how I feel about violence and gratuity in movies. If you can write a story showing TNA and violence and make it relevant in the story, fuck, do it. Don't hold back. Give me everything. But I'm not running a corporation with the mouse as a logo. So let's see.
The mouse has fangs, William. The mouse has fangs. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Deadpool. Let's see. Deadpool 3 is going to be under the banner of Fox Studios with the Marvel logo. Like I said, they that could be their workaround. But if they do that, then are they okay? Here's my question, Anthony. And somebody asked me this question before. If they do it under the Fox logo with the Marvel or the Fox banner with the Marvel logo, are they integrating Deadpool into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? If they are not, then I will retract that. If they're going to keep Deadpool and under Fox and they're not going to interconnect them in that way to where his chaos is Disney's chaos now, then I can see it that way. If they keep him exclusive and let Deadpool do what Deadpool has been, that's fine. If they make a movie where they're interacting with the rest of the characters, I just don't think it's a fit that way. I think they would neuter it. If they keep them separately, I think this what he's saying here, I think that's what should happen. But look, once again, it's not my billions. So we'll have to see. You're right. Let's see. Speaking of Red Dawn, not to get political, but man, Ukraine is making some gains. I've been keeping a track on the news. They aren't messing around. And the problem with like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago is the way Ukraine is set up and what they've taken over. The supply chains is what would cost them. I mean, remember they were supposed to come in and take over Ukraine within days and weeks that they thought, and they couldn't.
Well, Stella was telling me the other day that I think it's like 18 of the different cabinet positions and the Russian hierarchy are calling for Putin to be brought down, for Putin to step down.
Yeah, they're doing it openly, and you didn't see that before. We got a super chat from the Fourth 1000. Thank you for you. Even though, by the way, Fourth, your Avatar, I hate that movie. It's so disturbing. I can't.
You don't like Tusk? Tusk is great, man. So is Red State.
Oh, I hate that vision. Just disturbs me. I don't know why.
Have you seen Red State?
Yes.
Those movies are great. Kevin Smith is a master in disgusting horror.
I love you, Fourth 1000. I love you. I've always hated that movie, and I. But anyway, hey, I can see JL Dark being, if I, yes and no.
I disagree.
Okay, I could see it being bigger than OGJL if they use the original JL and what they've established now and the credibility to establish it going forward. Yeah, who knows? You could take it in a different direction and appeal to a whole different audience, and it could evolve beyond. I cannot see it as being the basis of a big story. I can see their ascension being a result of, and this goes for everything DC. Everything DC comes from the Trinity. Even if you don't like the Trinity, you're tired of the Trinity, they are the soil in which all this is going on. We don't have to have them in every single movie, but 63% of all DC characters either came from a book that the Justice League was in or created, or came from a books that the Trinity are in. They're connected to everything, including Justice League Dark. You got characters that roll back to them. All right, so on their own, no, because I don't think that the general audience, dude, we're going to have problems with Shazam. All right. And that character's been around since World War II. So I just don't think they have the brand name, the strong enough brand. Now, could we see these characters rise from supporting characters and eventually evolve? Maybe. Why not? I mean, I don't see any reason why not. It all depends on the preference at this point. Or once you put everything out on the plate in front of us, which Justice League do we prefer? But I don't think it could happen without establishing the roots. Everything has to start with even if it doesn't end and involve the Trinity, it has to start there in order for the general audience to give us the time of day. The general audience expectation of DC is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Now, us on this YouTube universe may be tired of those characters, but Joe Average out here on Las Vegas Boulevard, the expectation for DC Comics is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman in that order. And if you don't give it to them, there's the likelihood of you getting their money is very low, and you're wasting a lot of good work. People tell me that Suicide Squad, because of COVID and all that. No, Suicide Squad failed because it was full of a bunch of B characters put in a movie out on an island with no support from any of the other shows or any of the other things. Peacemaker did great. Peacemaker did great according to HBO, and the people who made that decision are going to pump up those numbers to validate to the stockholders at that time their decision making. They're not going to tell you if it did poorly. It could have very well done great, but I'm not going to believe the people who were telling me that. I'm not going to believe Walter Hamada. I'm not going to believe all those guys that were involved in that. Why? Because they're going to give me whatever spin validates the decision to greenlight it in the first place. And that's what any streamer, Netflix, who doesn't matter whoever's giving you until we have a rating system that lets you know exactly piece by piece, minute by minute, these breakdowns, and you're listening to the representatives from that company, they have an agenda, good or bad. They have an agenda. If somebody tells me that Zack Snyder's Justice League did great and we don't have numbers other than Samba, I have to question those as much as people say to me that it does poorly until I get ratings in and hard data. So yeah, I mean, it's I could see this happening, but you also gotta make sure you don't want to put a good story like a Justice League Dark out on an island where the general audience isn't going to come see it because they don't know who the characters are and they have no reason to care. Most of those characters in that story exist because of the characters I just mentioned. So yes and no. Sorry to be vague again. All right, fourth 1,000. Once again, you got to make me look at that avatar. A head explosion can be depicted as less violent than pulling fingernails off the hand. Marvel violence is too safe. Oh, also look what they did to what Sony and Marvel did with Let There Be Carnage. When that guy gets his head bitten off, they cut that scene out of there. But you clearly know that Venom ate that guy's head. So yeah, you can do some stuff. You just
sometimes, William, I prefer the implication of violence rather than just seeing it.
Yeah, sometimes the implication of sex. Look at Game of Thrones. There was no nudity of the major characters in Game of Thrones, even though you clearly saw them banging each other. But Millie Aycock, they filmed it in a suggestive way. You knew what was going on. And you knew what was going on with Damon. Her pants are down, and he's fine. They're getting it on. But you didn't see anything.
I will say the sex was more graphic. The sex was more graphic in Game of Thrones than it has been in House of Dragons.
Oh, good Lord, yes. Dude, the methods that they're using. I mean, episode 1, the last scene, Jaime and Cersei getting it on from behind. I mean, and poor Bran,
and then poor Bran gets chucked out a window.
Yeah. And sitting, Red State is I figured it would be.
Red State's fucking amazing, man. It's a good movie.
Yeah, very disturbing. Sir Clay, I think one of the locals. Hey, how you doing, Clinton? St. Clinton. I have a Clinton that works for me in here who's a knucklehead, that guy. And then I have St. Clinton, who's a customer who frequents the center. My first Batman was Adam West. I think that it was so well done. After that, I enjoyed the series from the 40s. Series of the 40s, 50s are unrated. Listen, my first Batman was Adam West as well. As I became a warped and violent, craving, slasher-watching movie, Friday the 13th, John Carpenter disciple that I am now.
So did your love of the 3Ds come from slasher films?
Oh, fuck yeah. It was born from Halloween and Halloween 2, and then from there it was a downward spiral to the. Then it became an art. It wasn't just the 3Ds because they all give me that. Once we got into the Friday the 13th, It wasn't just the 3Ds. It was the artistic delivering of those 3Ds that Jason was doing. You didn't watch. You knew who was going to live and die. You knew there was going to be one smart girl that got away, and everybody else was going to die. They're all stupid. And Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D, 1982 movie I saw in the movies, you dummies are in your little hippie van smoking all that pot, and you're heading to Camp Crystal Lake. You pass the mortician and the hearse and the ambulance rolling in dead bodies into the thing to be taken away from people that Jason has killed, and you keep going in that direction, you've had 2 other movies to know that 2 groups of people have been completely slaughtered.
And the Legend of Camp Crystal Lake.
The Legend of Camp that existed, and you're going there. So we're not watching Friday the 13th for Scorsese level storytelling. You're watching Friday the 13th to get that ass killed, to get that head chopped off, to get those fingers broken, to get that head crushed and those eyeballs popping out. You know exactly, and that's the thing. The people that produced the original Friday the 13th, they never lied to you. We had an honest relationship with John Carpenter, Dario Argento, all these people who made these movies. We had I think that they told us that we're giving you this, and they gave it to me.
Going into the early 2000s, I think another good use of the 3Ds in horror was, even though the movies are cheesy as hell, the Final Destination movies were good for gore.
I worked at Home Depot, and I really didn't want to see all that because those people were dying in ways that I was like walking around like
that you were like could happen.
Every time I saw a potential death incident, I'm like, I always Final Destination. If I'm lifting the glass plane up, Final Destination. Ooh, wow, is that thing tight enough? I was like, I got to get that fucking movie out of my head.
But you have to admit, though,
that movie,
those kills were good, even though the movies were cheese.
Yeah, yeah, it was some painful stuff to watch. But yeah, the 3Ds, you can blame John Carpenter, you can blame Dario Argento, you can blame Brian De Palma in certain situations. You can blame
Scarface.
I watched that as a kid. You can blame Luci Fulci. You can blame all the Italian people, all the Italian filmmakers.
How much giallo horror have you watched? Italian horror, all of it.
Deep Red,
Suspiria,
Mother of Tears, I've seen every Dario Argento movie. Trauma. In his daughter's movie, Bee Monkey, I've seen all that. The movie where he filmed his daughter and his wife getting raped. I've seen them all. And the Italians do not care. They don't have the same censorship labels that we have here.
Yeah, the Italians don't screw around when it comes to horror. Giallo is some good stuff, man.
Yeah. If you were doing Italian in the late 60s and early 70s, and there wasn't full on nudity, and we're not talking about a nip slip, we're talking full on frontal, both male and female. They did not care. Castrations. 1970s film, and there's like killers. Of course, they have, and it doesn't matter. And this is what American films did this. Why are we having sex in the worst places to have sex in? Let's bang on the boat. We know there's a killer around. Let's bang on the beach. Let's bang in the haunted house. Why are we having sex? Of course you're gonna die. So
have you seen that movie? Have you seen that movie that came out this year called X by Ty West?
Yeah. Oh no, I have not seen X. I have not seen it.
The prequel Pearl just came out like this week.
I think X is on streaming right now, isn't it? I gotta find.
No, it hasn't hit streaming yet. It hasn't hit streaming yet.
Okay.
No, and they, like I said, they just because they filmed the movie X and the prequel movie Pearl back to back, and they released them both this year. And now there's going to be a sequel to X called it's named after the main character in X that Mia Goth played. Damn, I can't think of what the name of the next one is. But he's actually releasing a trilogy within a year and a half time.
That's how they did it back then, and that's how some of those guys that are influenced by now. But yeah, they'll be banging in the pool, stripping. Let's go skinny dipping, and of course, Jason's waiting for you with the harpoon gun to put it in your eye. Oh, you're gonna bang in the dark room because you're hiding from everybody else. You don't want anybody. Of course, Jason's gonna find you and put a spear through both of you. You know, I mean,
Where is X streaming?
you guys are done banging. Oh, let me go out and get a beer. That's my favorite one. I gotta go out and smoke a cigarette. Okay, you're dead. Boyfriend got to go out and wow, you know what? I got to think about what just happened. I've never been laid before. This is great. Of course, Jason's going to decapitate you, and then he's going to go kill her.
What was Jason's problem with? What was Jason's problem with fucking? That's my question.
Remember, he drowned. That's how he drowned. But he drowned in the lake because they were banging. The lifeguards were banging. That's why the mother. Spoiler alert! It's been damn near 50 years. I need to take the spoiler alert off. But his mother was the killer in the first one because she killed camp staff because it was the camp staff who were banging while her son drowned.
Okay, so Fourth just informed me that X is available on Amazon for rental.
Woohoo! Okay.
So you can rent it, I suppose.
Hey, we need to do a watch party of that shit. I think we can watch party of that.
Dude, that movie is. Woo.
But yeah, yes, I am a product of the slasher movie. There's really nothing you could. By the time I was 7, 8 years old, I was wholly ensconced into violence. But I knew where it ended. I knew it was all on TV screen. I knew I couldn't do that stuff in the school. I knew knives really hurt people. I knew guns really hurt people. I knew I couldn't attack my friends and think I could handle business like they did on the A-Team. My parents were there for all of it. My dad.
Well, dude, that's where we benefited.
I was there. You know?
That's where we benefited, you and I, because my parents did the same thing. But my dad, both of our dads being ex-military, they showed us what those things would actually do,
Yeah, Okay, Fourth 1000. William, have you seen VHS 2? There's an awesome segment in it called Safe Haven. I have not, dude, I'm so far behind. I'm pathetic. I have not seen VHS 2. I think I have. I actually think I have that here somewhere. I may have that. I know I have the original here. I just purchased a whole bunch of old movies on all different formats. I just need to start watching them. I'm behind, so I need to see X and I need to see VHS 2. I will Safe Haven. All right. I will check that out. Cannibal Holocaust. Yes.
Dude, that movie is awesome.
I was 8 years old. 8 years old.
Have you seen the Green Inferno? Have you seen the Green Inferno?
Yeah. Listen,
that one's good too.
If you're watching this show, which is you're not, if you're watching this show, I didn't like Green Inferno. I thought Green Inferno had potential to be a lot better than it was, but it was too much of a throwback to the cannibal movies, to the point where it was like it became, when you made that movie had a time and place. Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, I drink your blood and I eat your, and when all those movies that came out, there was a certain window of time where that was just so cool. When he redid that movie, I realized that it just didn't transfer to me. It wasn't a bad movie, but for what he was trying to touch my Cannibal Holocaust nerve, and he just didn't. And I like Eli Roth's stuff. I mean, Hostel is kind of disturbing to watch because once again, you're mutilating genitalia. I can't do it. I have to close my eyes. But yeah, I
have you seen Eli Roth's History of Horror?
Yeah.
That stuff is cool.
He needs to make more of them though.
He's working on the next season comes out in October.
Yeah. I love
on
it.
Shudder.
It actually comes on
AMC.
Not going to come on AMC. Okay, I have Shudder.
It's gonna be simulcast AMC and Shudder. So.
I have Shudder and I need to watch Shudder. I pay for Shudder every month and I don't watch it nearly as much as a guy like me should watch it.
If you pay for AMC Plus, you get Shudder for free.
Okay. Well, I have Shudder already. I have cable. So, all right. Yeah. Let's see. Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah. Yes, I've seen it. I've seen all the cannibal movies. X is in streaming. Pearl is not. Okay. So I'll start.
Well, Pearl wouldn't be streaming yet. It just came out this week. So, yeah.
The story of Green Inferno is good, but too much comedy and shitty it's just, they just, to me, I just felt like they were trying to harken back to something that I've already seen that. I've already been there. I've already done that. Not a bad movie on its own, but given the genre that it was trying to tap into. Yeah, man. All right, guys. I think we covered everything today. It's now 12:04. It is 3:04 Eastern time, which I think how many of you guys are? I know Clint and Clinton, St. Clinton are both here on the West Coast with me. How many of you guys are on the East Coast or on the
I am
Midwest?
under the central time zone, so
Okay.
I'm an hour ahead of you,
So yeah,
or
so
2 hours ahead of you. Actually, it's
yeah.
2 o'clock in the morning for me.
So most of you guys have gone over. You guys are over on it's Sunday for you already. Oh, it's Sunday for all of us. So it's
Yeah.
deep in the Sunday for most of you guys. So let's see. Anybody else? All right, a new VHS sequel comes out this month. VHS 99. Wow, dude, I need to get on it. I need to just take some time out and just binge watch movies, but I'm afraid it might destroy my brain. All that violence. There's even too much violence for me. Because like I said, I
No,
can't. When it
there's
comes to
no
Eli
such
Roth,
thing as too much violence in a movie. Not at all.
not in a movie, but in a compacted amount of time. You gotta wash your brain out before or else you try to watch things like She-Hulk or something, and my brain's already tainted with violence. I have to turn it off. All right, so I think we're done. We've covered everything on my thing. I've showed you all my wrestling pictures and to let you guys know what a giant wrestling dork that I am.
I'm gonna have to come out there and catch a wrestling show with you,
Oh,
William.
dude, it's great, dude. I mean, I got belt. You see my belt collection. I'm gonna show you guys like what. Okay, so along with the two belts that you see, I have other belts too. But that belt that you see me slung over my shoulder, that's Ric Flair's belt. That's the only belt I can actually sell in the store because it's not a copyrighted belt. But
Mhm.
yeah, that is that's Ric Flair's belt. It's on the brown strap that it originally came on. I have Ric Flair's name on it. Um, Let me show them real quick. I'm going to remove you to show them. So, guys, that you can see up close. And I've have other pictures on it. I have pictures of me wearing it. So I'm a wrestling dork on every. I'm probably a worse wrestling nerd than I was as a kid when I thought it was real. I have more of appreciation. I watch tons of, like, when I get off from here, I'm going to watch some more New Japan because it's if
Where
we're
can I
having
look at? Where can I see some of that New Japan stuff?
New Japan World. It's
New
on
Japan
YouTube.
World.
Yeah, and you get to see everything. And then on Access, if you have Access Network, they show it on there too.
Okay.
So yeah,
Are
so yeah,
those are services you have to pay for, right?
the Access was just with your standard cable.
Oh, okay.
New Japan World is a streaming service that you do have to pay for. Yeah, but you get a lot of content. It goes all the way back the entire length of it. There's a match in there Andre the Giant's wrestling Stan Hansen back in 1981, 1982, and it's clear as crap. So, yeah, been watching too much wrestling. Like I said, I watch way more than I watched when I was a kid because we have the ability to stream it. We have the ability to watch it live. I've gone to more wrestling events in the last 2 years than I did my entire life. Even though I did, and I went to quite a few wrestling events. I went to pay-per-views. I went to WWF events. I went
I
to
went to a couple of SummerSlams
yeah.
back in the '90s.
Yeah, and they had them here. They had SummerSlam here recently. New Japan comes out here a lot. TNA, our Impact will be out here on October 21st. I'll be there for that event. I just love it. It's a lot of fun, like I said. But I'm a overall geek. There's not just one thing that I'm into. So,
See,
all right,
after the '90s, I got out of wrestling and headed into MMA. So
I
I,
just
I
never
don't
like.
I don't
I've
know a whole
tried
lot of
MMA
wrestling.
outside of Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey, and I just did personalities. I'm a personality driven guy, and it just once some of those guys just don't have the personality to grab me. That's probably why I like wrestling. But all
Yeah.
right, guys, we've done it. We have shepherded you in from what was September 17th into September 18th. Tomorrow night at I'm going to say approximately 7:15, right after episode 5 of Game of Thrones. The episode is called "We Like the Way." It's episode 5. I will be live from Square Bar, which is right downstairs. If you're local, want to come down and say hi to me, want to sit on my little cheesy throne, that's what it's there for. We will talk Game of Thrones with both the people that are in attendance there and the people that are online. And that's it. So streaming off a lot this weekend. We streamed yesterday for 2 hours. We streamed today for 2.5
2.5.
hours. And we'll stream tomorrow for about another 2. Wow. I went from a nobody that was just a call-in show on Enosh's show to having like 6 to 7 hours a week streaming. Ugh. For better or for worse. Okay. Next week. Yeah, I'm not for
Yes.
this series, but I will. I am going to watch it. And like I said, I wish Star Wars would give me a different premise in the same universe. And like I said, and the biggest problem I have with Andor is that and I've seen him give to be the best he can possibly be. I've seen him make the ultimate sacrifice. I've seen the ultimate end. So the emotional roller coaster for this character is just not going to be there for me. Maybe it'll be for the people around. Maybe it'll be for the awe that it looks like it's a great, beautiful story that you're telling. But right now, it's just like when I know what's going to happen to you to a certain point, and it's within the same wheelhouse of the stories that I've already been watching. It'd be different if it was I knew that all these people were 1,000 years ago, and I knew they were all going to die one way or another anyway. But there's just been no separation when it comes to Star Trek or Star Wars universe. It's all within that same 40 to 50 year period, and I'm just exhausted of it. I'm pretty sure it'll be great, but as far as I'm not excited for Andor, but I will do the same thing for Andor as I did for a book of Obi-Wan. I had no use for the Obi-Wan series, but I watched it, and when it was good, I said it was good. When it dragged, I said it dragged. So, yes, there will be an Andor review next week. So,
Okay, so Fourth said he would like to do a horror show with us one night.
yeah, and I need to get yeah, let's do it. And I need to get some wrestling geeks in here too because I'm going to start doing a wrestling show. So, all right, guys, thanks for everybody who dropped in questions. Thanks for everybody who dropped in super chats, and thanks for everybody who just came in and watched and supported the show, supported the Point Extra Round, supported myself. This is always my favorite show to do because it's the most relaxed show I do. It gives us a lot more freedom, and it gives us a lot more time to go into deep discussion of the topics that we're talking about. I try to limit the topics that we put on the show so that there's room for you guys to just go back and forth if we want to and just have a general conversation. So thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for Brian, Master of None, for being here earlier tonight. And my apologies. My apologies that Thade was here at all. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for Thade.
Oh, come on. Our public loves me. Our public loves me.
He showed his face too. So now we got people that are going to deal with nightmares and shit. So, all right, guys. We will see you in less than 18, 17, whatever hours. Have a good night, and we hope to see you on the other side.
You guys take it easy and be safe.
Oh, by the way, I want to show you guys something. I almost screwed up my
We have a stinger.
No, I almost
mid-credit scene.
I almost screwed up my outro, but for those of you who watch our YouTube show, the live post show afterwards, look at this. This is going to be the new intro and outro for it.
That looks good. I like that.
I'm going to get the most use out of those Thrones and Dragons as I possibly can. So, all right, guys, I will see you guys tomorrow for Game of Thrones, and I will see you on whenever Enoch streams again, or whenever I can just jump in on any of Max's streams or something like that. So, all right, guys, have a safe night, and
be safe, everybody.
Where's my outro? All right, guys, see you later.